All right, guys, welcome to our special referendum, the Voice to Parliament results coverage. It's Rukshan coming to you from the studio. Avi Yemeni is, of course, in Israel at the moment. So it's myself, and I'm going to bring in two co-hosts to help me actually host this. And look, today we really just want to kind of keep it a bit chill, take some of your comments, take some of your questions, and just kind of watch how this count unfolds and touch on some of the specifics of how we got here, and also what the result may mean if we do get the definitive result today. So first up, I'd like to introduce our co-hosts. And let me just, so actually I'm doing all of this without Benji. So I'm switching the cameras as well. Normally Benji's here, Avi's cameraman, but he's also in Israel with Avi Yemeni. So I'm switching the cameras. So please bear with me. If you do have questions, please put question at the start of it so we can kind of monitor it and get to some of these comments today. Again, very slow, chilled pace as the results come in. We don't exactly know how long it will take. Some people are saying maybe within an hour we might know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, who knows. But we will keep monitoring that as we go along. So let me just pull up our co-host today. So first up, we have Senator Ralph Babet from the UAP.
Thank you, Mr. Rukshan Fernando. Or do I call you the real Rukshan?
You can call me
the real Rukshan. No, I'm going to call you the real Rukshan. The real Rukshan, a hero among men. That's what you are to me. One of the first people to get out there and, take citizen journalism into the forefront. So Australia owes you a debt of gratitude, my friend.
I'll pay you after, man. So
That's right.
Much
nicer the checks
intro.
in the mailbox.
Much nicer intro than what Avi gives me. Normally, he's complaining about my technical prowess.
Look, Mr. Avi Yemeni, I am taking over. So just a quick update for everyone at home that may be wondering where I've been, because I've been posting a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter and etc. I've actually just got back from India last night at roughly around 11 p.m. I got home. So I've been in India for a couple of weeks now, and also Nepal as well, where we've been discussing trade between our nations and things that we can do to work together, etc. Kind of interesting stuff. But today we're here to talk about the referendum. This morning I was out at the polling booths. Very interesting time. Met a lot of people, some for yes, some for no. But one thing that was actually very prevalent amongst everyone that I spoke to is no one could really explain what the voice would do, how it would help people, because, like we've been talking about since the beginning of all of this, where is the detail, Mr. Albanese? It's referendum day and people still couldn't explain the voice. It's absolutely wild. Sorry, but... continue.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'd like to bring in the next guest as well, Joel Jamal. You can see this picture, Joel, of Ralph Babet, Senator. Are you harassing people? What are you doing with?
So in this picture here, I asked two young guys about what they thought about the voice, and they were very graciously stopped and talked to me. I think later on we'll have a bit of footage and where I recorded what I was up to today, and if we're able to, we'll play that later. If not, then we'll play it tomorrow. But it was interesting.
Perfect. Joel Jamal from Turning Point Australia. Thanks for joining in, mate.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for hosting, Rukshan. It's not easy to do live streams; they can be very fiddly. But now I appreciate you hosting, man.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do, guys, was really just bring in some predictions. Obviously, we've all been listening to the polls and doing all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the result on the day. How are you guys feeling about where you think this is headed?
Well,
go for it, Ralph.
I'll go first. I'm going to call it early. And I'm going to say it's going to be a no. It's going to be a no. And the reason why I think it's going to be a no is because, first of all, like I just mentioned, there's absolutely no detail about what this even is. And I think that Australians as a whole don't believe that we should be dividing our nation based on race. Now, I think it's been the ultimate in mental gymnastics. That's what's happened. Mental gymnastics. For the people that are supporting the Yes campaign, they've come out and said, we want to divide the nation based specifically on race, but it's not racist. How is that for mental gymnastics? And I think the average person sitting at home is like, hang on a sec, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, we all want to help Aboriginal people, but not like this. Well, we should want to help everyone, but not like this. Anyway, no, it's going to be a no.
And Joel?
Yeah, look, I'm a bit of a nerd, so bear with me. Look, a year ago when this first kicked off, and the architects of the no side were sitting down, I said the only thing that can jeopardize you winning is people not turning out. So I think that the no will be somewhere between 55% no to 70% no, but it depends on the turnout. I don't know, if people are going to come out. So look, it'll probably be the national vote will be 60% no, 40% yes. I reckon that's probably what it's going to be, with probably 15% of people not turning up and voting. And in terms of the states, I think they're all going to be no, except maybe Tasmania, or it might even be just a flat. Everyone says no. I reckon that's probably going to be what happens by state.
Well, my prediction is I from based on everything I've been observing, it should be a no. And that's not any particular science, just observing, because a lot of what I do is just monitor, I guess, social media in the sense of what the community is talking about, and just monitoring a lot of the news coverage, plus mixing in the polls in there as well. And it does feel like the community sentiment is towards a no vote. And I've spoken to some family people that wouldn't necessarily be into politics, and even they were kind of leaning on that side of a no. So that generally gives me the indication that, it's going to be a no. And I'm quite confident early on. This is the first time I've done a live prediction. So we could end up in one of those, compilation videos where we're all wrong. which is quite funny. But look, I'm happy to say, based on what I've been seeing, it should be a no. And for those of you just joining in, 6 o'clock our time, Australian Eastern Time in, I think, Victoria, Sydney, Brisbane. Is the polls closed now in most places, or just Victoria and New South Wales at the moment?
Well, it's definitely closed in Victoria.
I think Western Australia's got a couple of hours to go.
Yeah, WA 2 hour time difference, as Ralph knows.
Yeah.
They might not close for another 2 hours.
So
I just wanted to bring up, Ralph, for those that might not know. So there is a bit of talk about, whether we'll get the result today. So as far as from the AEC's own material, commentators and people predicting may give a result today based on the margins that they're seeing of the numbers that are coming out. But the AEC themselves won't specifically declare the yes or no winner specifically today, will they? That's my understanding from their own material.
Joel?
Oh, yeah, no, look, it really depends. I mean, it really depends on the amount of mail-in votes they're expecting. I mean, there's statistical anomalies that happen. And if it's just statistically impossible for it to come back, they may call it. Actually, no, they don't call it tonight. They officially call it, later on. The media call it tonight. So a lot of people,
that's what I was getting at. I think a lot of people I'm seeing a bit of concern online that, the AEC is not going to announce a result today, but I think there's a bit of confusion around that. The fact is, as far as I can tell from reading their material, they will do a type of recount to double check everything and make sure before they give the official thing. But the actual media, so whoever's watching it and monitoring the numbers that are coming in, if they see enough of a margin,
I'm going to call it tonight.
They will call it.
I'm going to call it right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. Somebody asked a question actually in the comments. They said, "Do you think Albo will shed a tear in bed tonight?" What do we all think about that? You know what? Speaking of Miss Albanese, what do we think happens to Mr. Albanese after this? Do we think his position is secure?
I think there's time to get to that. I think that's something we should get to later.
Ralph, let's get a result. Let's get a result, Ralph.
You just want Ralph. You just want Albo out of there.
Mate, look, Mr. Albanese, just retire. Retire, take your pension, go fishing, and enjoy your life. Just move on, my friend.
But I mean, I will bring up that question. Do you think Albo will shed a tear in bed tonight? I mean, Albanese has really been, the face of this, hasn't it? This has kind of been his pet project.
He's branded himself.
I call it Albanese's voice to Parliament. I know that's a bit contentious for some people because it's the Uluru Statement from the Heart and it's coming from the Indigenous community as well, who have compiled it and put this together. But Albanese has really championed it. And I think a lot of what we're seeing is it's fallen, if it does not go through, he will bear a lot of the responsibility, in my opinion. I know people might try to protect him from that, but I feel like he's been one of the main culprits of confusing the public, confusing Australians about what this
Dividing
actually
our
is.
nation.
And, the way that he used to speak about this a few months ago wasn't the way he was speaking about it once things really got heated. He was being very apprehensive or very, not clear. I would say dodgy, for lack of a better word, in terms of what this actually means for the country. And I was quite disappointed in that. I would have liked this to be very open and fair in terms of what we are actually voting on. And to think that we went to the referendum and we went and voted, and a lot of people are still saying, where are the details? That really goes to show you how messed up.
It's wild.
The Labor government really screwed this up.
It's completely wild. I mean, had they provided the detail, had they given us all the information up front, had they said exactly down to a T, cross your T's, dot your I's, what the referendum looks like, what it will mean, exactly what outcomes we're expecting, hey, look, maybe it would have been a different result. I'm going to stick with the no. Maybe it would have been a different result. But, Mr. Albanese needs to own this one, and I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to hammer this until the next election. Mr. Albanese, you're a failure as a prime minister. You've destroyed this country. You've divided this nation. You've presided over the worst cost of living crisis in my lifetime anyway. Cost of fuel is up. People can't afford to pay their rent, if they can even get a place to rent. Cost of living is out of control. You're bringing in, 1 million approximately migrants into the country when we don't have the infrastructure to support it. By the way, I support migration. I'm an immigrant myself, but not like this. Mr. Albanese, you're a bad prime minister. Stand down.
Yeah. Look, I was gonna say, Rukshan. No results have come in yet, guys. But I was talking to one Aboriginal guy today, Alec Dumaji, who I ended up interviewing. His group, his tribe, they're based in the northwest of Queensland, and he was on the phone with his mother, and he filmed this and he put this out there today. And she said, "Hey, son, I'm at the polling booth. Am I voting yes or no to this thing?" She said, "Everyone here is telling me to vote yes. They told me to vote yes because it means we can get people in the parliament." Just AEC staff basically lying to her, basically. Now, Alec Dumaji is in the Black Sovereignty movement. So he's a part of the Lydia Thorpes of the world. And he wants, he's voting no to this thing because he sees that he's ceding his sovereignty by voting for the Voice, because it means that his tribe can't negotiate a treaty. The Voice will negotiate a treaty on his behalf. Now, I disagree with that view, but he's voting no. Politics makes for strange bedfellows, as Ralph Babbitt will say. But I look at that. I look at what's going on, and as you were saying, Rukshan, yeah, there was no detail. In fact, the very Aboriginal people they said they consulted clearly weren't. I mean, this is a tribal elder, his mother, Alec Dumaji's mother, and she had no idea what this was. She'd rocked up to the polling booth, and Alec thankfully caught her last minute and said, "No, we're voting no on this because it means that we can't do what we actually want to do." And so this is just gross negligence, and it's disgusting because we pay the AEC $300 million to put this thing on, and they couldn't run a route in a woodyard. I mean, what we're seeing right now is a situation where in New South Wales we didn't even know the thing was on. I mean, there were no lines. There were no people out there that were advertising. Even the polling booth I voted at, if I didn't know that the polling booth was there, from previous elections, there were no signs leading up to the place. And so I don't know, there's some gross negligence. The head of the AEC ought to be fired. And I think that this whole thing was a sham and a waste of time.
Well, there's one thing that we both agree on. The head of the AEC, stand down.
You've been calling that for a while. And
for a long time.
I just want to point out to viewers watching, you might notice a lot of purple. I've decided to go with the AEC purple as a...
you mean the Yes campaigns? The Yes campaigns purple.
I'm sorry, the Yes campaigns purple, the AEC purple. I have adorned this live stream in the colors of the AEC. And what are they going to do about it? I mean, they're clearly not protecting their brand.
No,
I might as well just use their logo as well.
I'm
joking, AEC.
AEC is joking.
I'm joking, AEC. Because
I mean, if you're the Yes campaign, no worries.
Yeah, but they'll definitely come after conservatives. They'll definitely come after conservatives. And look, talking about the AEC actually and relating it to what's happening today, there is a bit of chaos that's been reported in Melbourne. You're saying you saw no one in New South Wales up there, Joel, but in Melbourne, apparently, there were just queues and queues of people waiting for hours and hours because of poor planning by the AEC.
You're not
I'm
wrong.
talking about 2 to 3 hours in terms of waiting because they just hadn't managed this, particularly in the city. So I'm just going to play this video.
Guys, we have results. We have results.
We have results. Okay, let me pull it up.
Before you play the video,
have
Rukshan,
results when you
can you put the comments come up that I can see
Look
what
at
people
that.
are saying?
Let's pull up the results. Oh.
Well,
results are coming in fast. So how much?
So far, so good.
What percentage is counted at the moment? I mean,
It can't be much.
It can't be. Yeah, it can't be that much.
Yeah, it can't be that much, but they're coming in.
Yeah.
Early indications are good. Let's see if it maintains.
I'll leave
they've
the screen
clearly. These results have clearly come in from Western Sydney and Western Melbourne, because all the ethnics are voting no in massive numbers. Because if this is from the city, then we know it'll be 100% no in the Western Sydney and Western Melbourne.
So if anyone's just jumped on and just seeing this right now, this is an ongoing thing. It's not the actual final results.
No, it's not final results.
But the numbers are still coming in. But at the early stages here, the no side is well on top. But I was just saying in terms of voting today, there were massive queues. I'll just try to play this video to give people an indication of that. I mean, look at this. This is modern day Australia. And you're telling me that, there's people waiting for 2 to 3 hours at polling places to vote. I even got messages from people saying that they had run out of certain slips. So there's been all sorts of issues today in terms of how the AEC's managed to run this to the, you would think, like you said, Joel, what's their budget? You said $300, $400 million?
Over 300, yeah, around 350, I think, $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, they buy new cars and everything.
Yeah, and to see this, it's just crazy.
And on top of that, I know a lot of people have been listening to my channel and my advice. They've been joining the Electoral Commission, but some of them haven't been able to get in over the last few years because of the jab mandates that the Electoral Commission has. And it just makes me sick because just like the firefighters, it's only when they need them that they actually hire them back, like right as we go into fire season. They drop the mandates for firefighters. But guys, with the stats, it's clearly jumping around quite a bit with the no stats. I've refreshed it a few times. We're probably dealing with no more than like 1% of the voters count.
Yeah,
no more.
Don't go running off and being like, woo, like this is the thing.
Yeah, it's
like we've still like half
very early stages.
half of people didn't vote on election day. They actually voted in the lead up. So like there's a lot of mail-in votes. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But if we're seeing this sort of number though, 80% in every state, it makes it pretty impossible to come back after today. But regardless, we'll keep you updated as this comes.
Can you kind of give us a bit of a rundown, Joel, of what this let's say the yes vote gets, what it needs to get up in terms of is it a majority of states? How does that work for people that might not be sure?
Yeah, so guys, unlike the UK or other countries when they have referendums, Australia has actually quite a high bar for getting referendums up. We've only had 8 out of like 40 or 50 referendums that have gotten up. It's very difficult because not only do you need a majority of the people around Australia to vote yes for a proposal, but in Australia we have 6 states and you need at least 4 of those states in a majority to vote yes as well for the proposal. So it's a very difficult bar to reach in this country. And the difficult thing is, how do you propose something that gets up? And there is no proposal that's gotten up without bipartisan support. This proposal didn't have that. The Liberal Party weren't on board with this, nor were the Nationals. And as a result, Albo's eating some chicken parmigiana right now.
Chicken parmigiana. Well, that's right. I mean, if you were any sort of political leader with any sort of credibility, you wouldn't put a referendum up until yourself and the opposing party and obviously everyone else in the parliament agreed to it first. I mean, you can't just go willy-nilly changing the nation's document when so many people are against it. That's not the right way to do things like this. Referendums are a very big deal, and I don't think that Mr. Albanese has taken it as seriously as he should have. If he had taken it seriously, he would have sought consensus with everyone else in the parliament first, before going ahead with it. He didn't. He just gave a massive FU to half of the parliament, roughly half of the parliament, and did whatever he wanted to do. That's not a leader. That's not a prime minister. That's not someone who brings people together. That's a a pale imitation of what a leader of a nation should be.
So did you have any discussions with the Labor Party? Did they approach you at all
Nothing
regarding this?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. They gave a big FU to me, and by doing that, they gave a big FU to everyone who voted for the UAP or every other conservative minor party out there. I'm not impressed with what they've done. I'm not impressed with the direction of our country, and I hope that Mr. Albanese pays for this dearly at the next federal election. And what we need to happen is we need more people to pay more attention to the political process, pay attention to what your leaders are up to, because some of the stuff I've seen around Parliament House, it wouldn't impress most people. Let's put it that way.
Bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to pull up a live ticker. I might take the one from the Herald Sun and just kind of put it on the screen as well while we're watching this.
So while you're doing that, any chance that we can get the live comments up?
I can get one of the comments up, yeah.
I mean, like on the screen.
On the screen,
that I can see them come up as they come up.
No, that's a field day for the trolls. If we have
let
all
the trolls come.
If we have all the comments coming in, Senator, it's going to be a field day.
Don't put it on screen.
We can't do that, Ralph. We can't do that.
Not for
the trolls are out, mate. The trolls are out right now.
The trolls are out for us, mate.
I'm not saying let's put them on screen. I just want to see them as they roll in so I can comment on them.
I'll read a question out someone's put to you.
I've
got a lot of.
This is directly put to you, Senator. Babbitt, can you put forward a royal commission into the result of the referendum if it comes out that yes wins, giving all the foul play of the yes crew and the AC? Before you answer that, I just want to say so much money has been wasted on this referendum. We shouldn't be wasting money from a royal commission as well onto this crap.
Royal commission. So that was from Zachary. Now, Zachary, my friend, let me tell you what a royal commission is, right? Unfortunately, this is what I found out since I've been in Parliament. The government will never hold a royal commission. This is my opinion, unless they know what the result is going to be. Okay, so if they're going to hold a royal commission that's going to look, disfavorably to something that they're involved in, they're not going to hold one. They're just not. So I don't think that we have a chance in hell of getting a royal commission put forward into the referendum, and hopefully we won't need one. I mean, if we can't even get one into that virus thing that happened a few years ago, we're not going to get one into this, unfortunately. And I think we need one into that other thing. I won't say what the thing is because I don't want to get cancelled on our show we just started. But look, it's not. The parliamentary process is not as clear cut, is not as see through as we'd all like it to be. There's a lot of shadiness that happens. So, Royal Commission into this, not going to happen.
So if you guys can see, I've got the ticker up there as well. So this is from the Herald Sun. Thank you to the Herald Sun. I've just I'm scraping this from their website just to kind of show you guys the results coming in. So you can see at the moment now, these are live from their tallying at the Herald Sun. You're seeing so far 32.14% for the yes and 67.86 for the no side. Let me just pull this up as well. Just give you guys some more.
Yeah.
Can you see that, Joel?
Yeah, that looks good. Oh, okay. So they haven't got the other four. Funny how New South Wales and Victoria are onto it. I mean, why isn't Queensland and Tasmania up
Speaking
yet?
of Queensland, Joel, do you think Queensland is
mate?
going to be a yes or a no? I'm going to tip that they're going to be a
100%.
no. Yeah.
Mate, so from the start, it's, most likely to vote no to yes. It's always been Queensland 1, and then, WA 2, South Australia or New South Wales 3. 5 ends up being like Victoria, and then 6 is Tasmania. That's how it's sort of gone. So Queensland was always, man, we got 4 freedom senators in Queensland, actually. This is like a Texas of Australia, except in the north.
The Texas of Australia. Speaking of Queensland, let's go a bit off tangent here. Do you think, all right, this is just left field, that Queensland should be split in two? Should North Queensland be its own state? What do you reckon? Because they're so different.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw Tasmania. 52% no. If Tasmania's going no at this point, that's really gotta it's really gotta screw the left. They need Tasmania.
All
They
right, so
need
Joel got
Tasmania.
distracted there with Tasmania.
Mm.
So,
He was,
so what were you saying, Ralph? Sorry about the
Oh
Senator.
no, mate,
I'm
no,
so
no,
sorry, Senator.
no,
Bit of
mate. Oh,
decorum here. Sorry, mate.
mate, this guy. No, I was just saying with Queensland. You know, do you think they should split it up into North Queensland be its own state because they're so different? But you know, Queensland.
Look, Australia needs more states. I mean, the amount of body mass, the amount of mass we have, the amount of the continent we have, it's huge. The founding fathers, the reason why we have 12 senators per state is so that the population centers wouldn't trample on the rights of, other states, like to take their water, to take their resources. And so I think we need a lot more states. I think we need the Riverina state, which is, I think, I forgot the name of the guy's name. I think it's David Landini. Some guy, he believes we should make a state a bit out of Victoria, a bit out of New South Wales. More states means more senators. It means more accountability. It means
Mm,
more of a consensus when we pass anything. I think that's a great idea.
yeah, me too. Definitely more states is a good idea.
well,
I agree with that.
we'll keep watching the count. I just wanted to bring up some of the divisiveness we've seen around the voice to Parliament.
Yeah,
It's been a very divisive thing. Like, growing up in Australia, particularly in the last 6-7 months, I don't think I've ever kind of had people discussing race this much. You know what I mean? Like a very specific thing about race. It's so in your face,
Yeah.
the differences between people, and
mm,
kind of almost this push to acknowledge differences as well, which I find strange. I know, Ralph, you love to bring up Martin Luther King and
Yeah.
that famous speech
Yeah.
that he gave that, we all know that speech. And I feel like since that time of, you can repeat the words for me.
Look, I'll just repeat it for the people that are watching at home. You know, like judge someone by the content of their character. Don't judge them by the color of their skin. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult thing, and I think we've just walked away from that.
Yeah.
We have walked away from that, and it doesn't matter how much gaslighting people try and partake in. That is what this referendum was about. It was about saying that a particular group of people, quite literally, based on the color of their skin, were different from everyone else. And I think that that's ridiculous. No one in this room on this broadcast in the country probably would deny that we need to do more to help disadvantaged people. Absolutely, we need to do more to help disadvantaged people. But you don't do it by giving those people more privileges and rights in society that someone else will get. This is Australia. I have as much of a right as anyone else to have my voice heard. And you know what? I can have my voice heard. I can have it heard every 3 years at a federal election. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
have kind of gone into this this space in our society where it's a lot about this kind of reverse racism almost, or affirmative action type situations. I'm using the American term there, but helping people by acknowledging their race or acknowledging their disadvantage, and specifically acknowledging their race. In this particular instance, I know this was disputed a lot, but a lot of this, again, the fact checkers might try to get us on this, but this was about inserting a specific race-based advisory into our constitution, and that would that I know there's a lot more context around that, but that would exclude other races of people in this country from being on that advisory body within the constitution. Now, Australia, to me, has always been a country where people from all parts of the world come live in this country. The Australian dream. Of course, we have a complex history. We have our Indigenous Australians. We have the settlers. But altogether, all these people combined over the course of a long, long time, if we take into account all of history, has managed to create this amazing country. There's not many places around the world which are like Australia. There's places around the world which have been around for thousands of years, and we're seeing some of this play out right now in the news cycle, where there's conflict, there's tensions, there's all types of issues that people, even though they've been around for that long, these countries are so old or whatever it is, they have these tensions. But for some amazing reason, Australia doesn't seem to have those type of issues and problems. And whatever it is, it seems to work for this country. And I feel like we're kind of regressing from that when we're attempting
Maybe that's the
these
plan,
type of things.
Rukshan. Maybe that's the plan that the people that at the very, very top that really run society, I'm not talking about your politicians at the very top, maybe it's what they want. Maybe they want to stoke division because when a society is divided, guess what, ladies and gents? That society is easier to control. That's just the facts. So maybe I don't want to get into too much conspiracy here, but maybe it's what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe we're too united.
Rukshan, can I just say? I mean, you're talking about putting race in the constitution, and I totally agree with everything you just said. But this is the problem, guys, and I think this is the main reason why this thing is just flopping with everyone right now. We actually don't know. Like anyone that is writing a fact check about what Rukshan is doing, you don't know what you're talking about because there is no bill associated with this voice. There's
true.
no bill. This is the problem. We don't know if these people look. This is what the assumption is. The assumption is that there's going to be a panel of 24 members that make up the voice to the parliament. We don't know if they're selected. We don't know if they're elected. We don't know if every Aboriginal person gets a vote. We're just assuming. We actually have no idea. And that's what's scary about this. We don't know what power it has. We don't know if it has the power over the RBA. We don't know if it has the power to stop us from going to war. We just get assurances. Oh, don't worry, it won't be controlling the cash rate. Like, how many montages have we seen about weapons of mass destruction where they just lied to us about stuff, or they lied to us about, oh, don't worry, it won't do this, or don't worry about this, the same-sex marriage plebiscite, it won't affect religious freedom. Bull crap. It ended up affecting religious freedom, and that was just a plebiscite. This is the sort of, if the government can do it, you need to assume that they will do it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this is what Noel Pearson said. He said, if you vote yes in concept to the voice to the parliament of the day will be the one that fills in the details. Now, the parliament of the day right now is Labor and Greens and the Teals. So you're going to get the worst kind of bill you could imagine. And they could amend it at any point. They could amend the Constitution at any point because you've given them the key in the door with this referendum. And that's why I think fundamentally, totally agree with what you're saying, Rukshan, but at the end of the day, there's no bill associated with this. We don't know what the terms of reference are.
No idea.
And therefore, they shouldn't be writing fact checks and saying that's false because they don't know either.
Well, I mean, look, the fact checkers, I've been on these fact checkers.
You're onto that, aren't you?
I've been onto these fact checkers because I can't stand these fact checkers because they're full of crap. And like you said, Joel, they shouldn't be fact checking this stuff whatsoever. There's no place for them to be fact checking this because this is a political debate. This is a political argument. And people are going to have different opinions. And in particular, when the government itself has, pretty much flat out refused to provide some of the very specific details that people are asking for. If they can't provide it, just say we can't. We don't know. It's not even that. They're saying we have given you the details. Well, you haven't. And, these fact checkers have been abusing their power.
They're activists. They're activists.
Well, they are. They're definitely activists. Over the last 3-4 years, we've seen that very clearly happening. But even when it comes to this very, important debate in our community around the voice to parliament, they have been silencing people over the most ridiculous things, like this debate over how long the Uluru Statement from the Heart is. Like, you have people who are literally the architects of the voice to parliament in their own words, saying it like, there's so many videos. It's pointless. It's
pointless
prosecuting this, but there's so many instances of them saying that the voice to parliament is longer than one page. And they are making a point of telling you that it's longer than one page because they want you to know the rest of the detail, right?
Exactly.
What's important that people need to understand is when we say we don't know the detail, what we're saying is the government hasn't provided the public the detail. If you want to find some of this detail, like if you really want to research it, you can look into what these people are saying themselves and talking about. And they are talking about things like, how do you say that word? Reparations.
Reparations, yeah.
They're talking about things like paying the rent and treaty specifically through a Makarrata commission. Like, all these things are very specifically explained in these documents. And Albanese himself has multiple times in the past. Now, I've been, watching videos in Parliament, and they're all recorded. What they say in Parliament is recorded, everyone. So you can go back, look on the Hansard. You can see these people talking about these things. But to the general public, they're treating you like idiots. And they're telling you that this is a very simple thing. You're voting about recognition of Indigenous peoples in the Constitution, and that involves an advisory body. or truly, if this split into two questions and it was about recognizing indigenous people, yes, and do you want an advisory body, yes or no, I would have definitely 100% agreed to recognize indigenous people in the Constitution if that question was split up in that manner, very specifically and clear. But because they joined it together with this very vague notion of an advisory body, that who knows how it's going to impact us. I think that was off-putting for me, and possibly for a lot of other people in our country, it's been off-putting having that.
Well, you're not wrong.
In there.
You're not wrong. It is off-putting, absolutely off-putting. And like you just talked about so eloquently, we don't know any of the details of what this is going to look like, but I can probably guess. I'm going to guess right now, actually. If it gets up, it's going to be the woke, latte sipping, inner city, fake Aboriginal activist types that end up being on this panel or council or whatever it is. I don't even know. I'm a senator and I don't know. I am a senator and I don't know because they have not told us a thing about what it's going to look like. So it's absolutely crazy. It's just wild that, that the government, the Labor government, Mr. Albanese would try to, change our constitution, our nation's founding document, and provide absolutely no detail into it. Yeah. Ridiculous. Yeah. So ridiculous. Yeah. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing is what it is.
I just want to show you guys an example of this. I'll just play this example first because I think it's important for people to know that how deceptive these guys have been, right? I just want to play this. This kind of gives people a bit of an idea. If you're catching on to this, let's just have a look at this. It only goes for about 45 seconds.
This isn't about a treaty, Ben.
But there are three parts of the Uluru Statement.
Yeah, and this is not...
So you're talking about the voice.
This is not about a treaty.
But as part of treaty, which we guess will be a following step.
This is not about a treaty.
Do you foresee that compensation would be
This
paid?
is not about a treaty. This isn't about a treaty, Ben.
But there are three parts of the Uluru Statement.
Yeah, and this is
so
not...
you're talking about the voice.
This is not about a treaty.
But as part of treaty, which we guess will be a following step.
This is not about a treaty.
Do you foresee that compensation would be
This
paid?
is not about a treaty. This isn't about a treaty, Ben.
But there are three parts of the Uluru Statement.
Yeah, and this is not...
So you're talking about the voice.
This is not about a treaty.
But as part of treaty...
I mean, I repeated that a few times in that video, but that really goes to... I think that's when kind of things fell apart a little bit for Mr. Albanese, is when people kind of caught on to this word games that he was playing, right?
Massive word game. Yeah.
And he's wearing a treaty T-shirt that says voice, treaty...
and truth or something, right? It says it on his T-shirt. It's not about a treaty, but it's on your T-shirt.
Yeah. Sorry,
Mr. Albanese, it's on your T-shirt. I should give him the proper respect to call him the right words. Mr. Albanese. That word will go down, that name will go down in infamy. Infamy as the man who tried to divide our great multicultural nation. That's what's going to happen there.
Any comment, Joel?
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
No, look. I did a montage of all of his tweets where he mentioned the word treaty. That's the beautiful thing about Twitter, guys. If you want to find something I've said, search the word in my profile and you will find it. And Albo has been very much stuffing up. And it's so funny because I remember when Dan Andrews won the election last year, on the Monday, because the election was on the Saturday, on the Monday, the Nationals came out and opposed the voice. They had Jacinta Price out there. They had the leader of the Nationals. And they said, we've increased our number of seats. We've done very well. People know what we're about. We are now opposing the voice because that's the next thing on the agenda. And then on the Wednesday, Dom Perrottet came out and he said, we're endorsing the voice. And then he lost the election in New South Wales 4 months later. That was the moment. But the reason I bring it up is when Jacinta said there's no detail, everyone said, what are you talking about? The voice to the parliament. The Uluru Statement from the Heart is a 26-page document. All of the detail you need is right there. And I was like, thank you for admitting it. Thank you for admitting it was 26 pages. They admitted it back then, as recently as November last year. But they changed it. And this is what the establishment does, guys. Be under no illusions. What's going on right now is we are doing a national poll to work out three things. Where all the yes people are, the die-hard people, where the no people are, the common sense people, the freedom community, the conservatives, the Christians, everything. And on top of that, we're working out where the people that don't vote are. What this is telling us is who the diehards are for the establishment. And what that will tell us is where they are in the country how we need to change our electoral strategy to beat them, because we haven't done a poll like this in 20 years. And it's going to actually inform us as to how we can assault them in the next election politically. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing this data breakdown, but I'm here for it. I mean, I like what I'm seeing already. Well, what have we got? We've got about 1% of the national vote counted. It's 62% no, 38% yes. It's about on par, guys. Yeah.
I just want to pull up a question here.
Before you do that, Rook,
yeah,
let's just quickly talk about SA. Joel, do you think SA is a potential worry for us or not?
No, not at all. Not at all. Now look at Tasmania. I mean, look at it. It's 65% no for Tasmania. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's 1%, but keep in mind, this is better than any poll that we have received to date, because they have what's 1% of Tasmania? It's the biggest of any poll that's been done.
I don't know. They're all cousins anyway down there.
Well, yes, but you get the point though. South Australia is definitely gonna. I think they're gonna vote no. Someone that my mentor is from South Australia, and he's someone that knows the politics down there very well, like the back of his hand. And he said, Joel, South Australia is certainly a no. He said, I'm not sure about New South Wales. It's a bit of a sleeper, but I know New South Wales, and as long as people come out and vote, we're going to smash it. And I mean, if Victoria and Tasmania are going no at this point, I mean, guys, Queensland's going to be like 70%, 75% no. This is going to be hilarious.
Yeah, good. Hopefully, God willing.
I'll pull up that comment.
Well,
Inshallah.
Let's pull it up. So this is from Carolee.
Why don't you support the Indigenous people? You enjoy the benefits of living here on their land.
And
well, let me tell you,
interesting question.
I am Indigenous.
You know what Carly should do?
No, I am Indigenous. The definition of Indigenous, I was born here. My grandparents were all buried here, all of them, all four of them. My dad passed away, so he's buried here. So I mean, if you want to deport me, I don't know where you're going to send me, because I've never been anywhere else. It's like there's a lot of people like that,
And what I wanted to bring up, why I brought that up, was which Indigenous people, because as we've seen throughout this campaign, there's Indigenous people with all types of different views. Indigenous people are not a monolith in this country. We've seen that very clearly during this time. We have people who are part of the Sovereign No movement. We have people who are politically saying no. We have people that might not even be aware of this because they have greater issues than all of this. Now, I went to Alice Springs with Avi Yemeni and Rebel News to cover some of what was happening there a few months ago. Yeah. And we ran into people in the community, and they have much larger, greater problems than that we have to actually worry about these voice things. And those solutions that they need to get it from their politicians on the ground there by actually talking with them for those specific, issues that they're having in those regions. But, the way that I look at this is Indigenous people in this country, they're not a monolith. They have different views, and I respect that. And it's a political debate, and it's not about supporting the Indigenous people that agree with you. We're all Australians. We can be mature about this. And, my particular view on this aligns with Senator, Jacinta Price, for instance. So she's an Indigenous person in this country. So how am I not supporting Indigenous people? I'm doing what I think is correct and right for this country as a member of the community. Now, we're all told that we're Australian, we're all a part of this country, and this referendum is put to the people of this country to decide which way we take this. And we have to have that debate. And it doesn't just automatically mean that if you oppose it, you are against Indigenous people. I think that's where this argument has gotten very divisive, where they've kind of pinned it on that you're against Indigenous Australians if you vote no to this, because it's like, it's a right thing to do. Where have we heard that kind of argument before, the right thing to do?
Look, no, you're completely right, Rukshan. You're completely right. And,
where does it come from? Where does it come from? Sorry. I mean, what's the assumption? It was the Uluru Statement from the Heart, which, even the Uluru people, sorry to interrupt, Ralph, but even the Uluru people said no. But they did a survey of 300 Aboriginals. That was an online survey. They didn't check Aboriginality. 300 people, and they based off that survey, they said 80% of Aboriginals are on board with this. That's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. You know,
Where are the
like
fact
Alec
checkers?
Dummett. Well, yeah, exactly. Where are the fact checkers? And they're like, oh, we'd fact check it if you submitted a claim, we'd fact check it. But if it's a conservative Christian, we'll search and destroy. You know, like seriously. No, honestly, man, I'm sick of this crap. You know, there's a lot of people in this country that they see what the establishment is doing, and they're going to get violent. You know, if this keeps going on. I mean, this voice referendum is a perfect view of, you know, who the real people are in charge. It's a massive a litmus test. You got BP, you got, you know, Rio Tinto,
Good
Coles,
point.
Woolies,
Good
Pfizer. You know,
Good
the
point.
big seven,
Well, I mean,
the
look,
big four banks donating
Since when
$7
have
million.
these big corporations given a crap about anyone apart from their profits, right? So what do they know that we don't know? What do they know? You know,
It's an
what's this
investment. It's an
bureaucracy
investment
going to be
decision,
used
Ralph.
for? Of course
Ralph,
it is. But
It's
the
investment.
other thing,
Yeah.
the other thing is, as a brand new potential democracy that could potentially be formed, you know, the one thing that big bureaucracies do is make it more difficult for small and medium players to do business. Have we thought about that angle? You know, I mean, we've seen what's happened in Western Australia with their whole thing that they went through recently. So we don't want to roll that out countrywide. I mean, they were able to roll theirs back because with them, it wasn't in their in the state's constitution, right? It was legislation that was overturned. So,
I mean, I want to
that.
kind of come to this this whole, you know, involvement of corporations in this as well, because, you know, it's very in your face. It's very hard to ignore because you know, obviously some of our major corporations like Qantas, for instance, they were very involved and upfront with their support for a particular side in this debate. So I really want to get to that as well. But on that divisiveness and this angle that we're talking about at the moment, I just want to pull up this video. This was from today, of a lady being harassed by was it a Yes supporter or a Yes campaigner, maybe handing up.
So this is, let me see the title, Rook.
No, it says Yes shocking moment. A No supporter is repeatedly called a racist by an irate Yes campaigner at a polling booth.
Yeah, so I actually know the lady personally who was being abused. She's a lovely lady, very soft-spoken, very, very nice woman. And I watched this video previously, but we'll obviously watch it again for the viewers at home. And you know, it's pretty telling that they would abuse this woman like this. And you know what? She's also, you know, an immigrant.
Let's play this video.
Yeah, just play it. Yeah.
You're so racist. You racist.
Sorry, what else did you call me before that? Could
You
say it to
are
the camera?
racist.
Yep. And what else? So I'm a racist and...
Yeah, what's your problem? She's doing nothing,
She's
mate.
racist. Don't film me. Did you ask to film me? Racist. No, you're racist. Stop filming
You're
me.
an idiot, mate. What are you doing this for?
Racist. You're racist.
You got no right to be in the face.
Racist. I've got no right.
Anyway, there's a bit of carry on. He's saying the same thing. I mean, there's been a few of these kind of unhinged style incidents from these interesting characters. We had, of course, the professor that spit on an individual as well during campaigning. And I feel like they feel like they're entitled to behave in this manner, some of these.
Yeah, great job, Mr. Albanese, on bringing the country together. Great job on unifying Australia, mate.
Oh, he's doing swimmingly.
He's doing
swimmingly,
well.
you know?
Look, you know, because someone says no to racial division, that's exactly what makes them not racist. This is just ridiculous. The mental gymnastics that we're watching from these people at the moment. It's totally wild. I don't understand. And like you said before, Rukshan, a few minutes ago, if the question had been, should we recognise Aboriginal people, I think most people would play, yeah, of course we should recognise Aboriginal people as, you know, being First Nations people. That's fine. But when you're going to, you know, give special rights and privileges based on colour of skin, that's a whole different story, isn't it? Especially when we don't even know what it's going to look like, when we have absolutely no detail whatsoever. And according to the Prime Minister, just go on the vibe of the thing, the vibe, whatever he means by that.
Let's check in on the vibe, how the vibe's playing out in the country when it really matters. So I'm pulling up the national vote. This is on the ABC currently. So 40% yes, 59.9% no at the moment. New South Wales, we're looking at about 40% yes and no 60%. Victoria, 40% yes. 59.8% no. Tasmania.
All right.
Is it anywhere?
Yeah.
38?
Yeah.
No. Oh, South
Yeah.
Australia. Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that, mate. That is gorgeous. You know why I'm smiling? All right. If you're
Why is
listening
that?
to this stream, guys, give it a share. Get it out there because this is Australia's Brexit moment. Let me tell you why. Look at New South Wales. It's almost 5% counted. Now, what's 5%? What's 5% of New South Wales population? There are 5.5 million eligible voters. 5% of that is 300,000. 300,000. Now, when was the last time you saw a survey done of 300,000 people?
Never.
This is coming back. This is coming back with a 60-40, which is exactly what I said, survey of 300,000 people. 300,000 is how many votes we needed to get John Ruddick elected in New South Wales for the Libertarian Party. Like this thing is done. This thing is done and dusted. Don't get me wrong. We've got to wait for the rest of the night. But if New South Wales has come out and has, because it's the most apathetic state. Like we have 16% of people that didn't vote in the federal election in New South Wales. If New South Wales is coming out and we're the most apathetic, mate, this thing's done. Honestly, I'm excited to see Queensland because it's gonna be like
for New South Wales are from Western Sydney, and the rest comes in later.
Yeah,
you know that graph that we've all seen, I'm sure, of the polls in the states where Biden was losing to Trump, and then all of a sudden just goes boom, it's up.
But this is the difference. This is the difference, Ralph. Stop the steal. But this is the difference, Ralph. So we have learned from the previous elections. A lot of people have been listening to me. They've been joining the Electoral Commission as workers, and also hundreds of people in my audience and other audiences as well. They've been signing up to become scrutineers to actually secure the vote. Unlike America, they don't really have that sort of situation. I mean, it's very guarded. You can't film in these places. In Australia, obviously. But mate, I'm very confident. I'm very confident about this from the start. I mean, this is looking very favourable. I just can't wait to see Queensland and WA come in because remember, they're my number 1 and 2.
Well, let's also bring up a question that came up from time lapse and other stuff. Why are the results according to different websites? I think because obviously they have different methods of bringing these numbers in, and you're getting that kind of difference in that. Correct, Joel?
Yeah, that's right. And some are just quicker than others as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, a lot of you might be like, Joel's young, he's 26, he hasn't, he's opportunistic. Be under no illusions. When everyone said Dan Andrews would win, when everyone said Dan Andrews would lose, I told you guys he was going to win. When everyone said Dom Perrottet would win, I said he would lose. When everyone said Scott Morrison would win, I said he would lose. I've said we would lose every time. This is the one time I've said we're actually going to win. And here is the fruit of our labours.
Look, speaking of Dan Andrews, let's go off on a quick little tangent. Did anyone see the photo of Mr. Andrews at the airport? Where is he going? Where are you going, Mr. Andrews?
I was hoping to avoid talking about that guy on this particular stream.
Oh, man.
But
where's his razor?
He looks a bit rough these days. He's just let himself go. I don't know if he's just enjoying life or whatever, and just not caring about showing up at the office anymore, looking prim and proper. But he does look a bit worse for wear. Kind of like me sometimes, even now. Like I've kind of let myself go. But Dan Andrews, you typically never saw him like that, right? He was always clean cut, shaven, dressed in a particular way in his North Face jacket or whatever.
Oh man!
And you see him now. It looks like he's just kind of job hunting.
Well, I mean,
potentially he is, but even then he looks worse for wear. I'll try to find that photo so I can pull it up for people to give them an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I've heard a few things about him maybe potentially having a job in the States. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I've just seen a few media reports here and there. So not sure what he's going to be up to, but I'm sure he'll be well rewarded.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of our viewers probably don't even want us talking about Daniel
I'm sorry,
Andrews.
everyone out there. I know you've now got PTSD. Every time you hear his name, I get it too. So you're not alone. Every time I see his face, here we go.
Let's pull him up
my
here.
Gosh, that face. Do you remember how smug he used to be a few years ago? He used to come up, all right to go.
I mean, look, it's a long. If he's flying out from Australia to the US, it's a pretty long flight.
I'll forgive him for this picture, but still, just seeing his face annoys me.
So look, that's down there in the US. I don't know why we're talking about him during the referendum, but yeah. But look, he's a big pusher of the yes side as well. I mean, he talked down to people. He was kind of very dismissive of anyone that's voting no. Particularly of I think when the Liberal Party kind of said that they came on and said they're going to support the no side, he was like, "Oh, why? These are the type of people that these people are." And I know, like a lot of states, even though whatever happens with this referendum with the voice to Parliament, a lot of states, like Victoria, for instance, are going their own route. South Australia, I think, has gone that way. Victoria I think they've got like a First Nations Assembly, and they're discussing all types of treaties and all types of things. So, regardless of where this voice to Parliament federally goes, there is still these issues being discussed at a state level as well, which is kind of crazy that we spent so much effort and time into this federal kind of symbolic gesture almost, and so much money and treasure has been put. Speaking of
which, good point that you bring up there. The voice, whatever you might think of the voice, it's been a great distraction for the Prime Minister. It's been a great distraction, and I say that because we're in the cost of living crisis. Everything's so expensive. You can't find a house to rent. They're bringing in all these migrants. Like I said before, like a few minutes ago, I'm not against migration, but our infrastructure has to be ready for it first before we bring people in. And all we're talking about now, and all we've been talking about for as long as I can remember now, is just the voice. Very little on everything else that the Prime Minister should be concerned about, which is the welfare of every single Australian in the nation.
I mean, you couldn't even say this is like a honeymoon period for the Prime Minister, because since he's come into Parliament, this has been his main agenda, I feel like, anyway. And like you said, a lot of other things have gone to the wayside. And now, when this ends, I think a lot of time is going to be spent dissecting this and trying to figure out how all this went wrong. And I don't think Albanese is going to be able to walk away from this
won't let him
scot-free. I know you won't let him.
I won't let him.
In the sense that this is still going to take our attention, isn't it? The fallout from this, because it is divisive. People have talked about this as being a judgment of how the world views Australia. I mean,
ridiculous.
The left in this country and progressives are going to lose their minds if this, if it's very specifically, if it's a landslide result, for instance, they're going to lose their mind if they don't get their way.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised that happens. Let's say, God willing, we get a no vote, right? Australia says no and Australia rejects racism. I wouldn't be surprised if the Labor Party and the Prime Minister then turns around and says, well, look, my fellow Australian, the reason why we lost this referendum and that people voted no was because of misinformation online and disinformation. There was so much mis and disinformation going on, and then boom, we move into the mis and disinfo bill, and then they just use it as another bullet in the gun, so to speak.
They're already kind of setting that narrative up. I mean, they've been setting that up from the very start. It's intensified, and that is going to be one of the major narratives that they push around this, that the no side was disingenuous, that they spread disinformation, and they tricked everyone, which is ridiculous to think based on just all the ad campaigns, the celebrities, all the endorsements that they,
corporations,
all this. It's just crazy to think that, people there sitting on Facebook's arguing about, is it 1 or 18 pages, cause people to, it's just ridiculous. It just means that they did a really crappy job. They weren't able to convince people, and it wasn't effective. And some of the strategies that they used didn't really bear effect.
Absolutely. And the other thing,
John, I was just going to say, look, we talk about not letting Albo go. Guys, Albo is just a puppet. When I say that, I mean that Albo is the face of the Labor Party today.
I agree.
They're just going to replace him with another nameless, faceless person that you couldn't recognize him in a lineup. And it's similar with Dan Andrews. I was actually quite sad to see him go, because it means that now we're stuck. We've got someone, we don't know their background. It's a nameless, faceless person. Actually, the fact that I know Jacinta Allen is expected, but anyone else, they won't know who she is. And so when I look at, are we going to let Albo get away with this? It's not about Albo. Is the establishment going to let us get away with it? Because we didn't just survey who's on their side. They're surveying who's against them. And so this misinformation bill, they're going to come after us. I mean, it's going to be really bad. I mean, the only people that aren't going to be touched by this bill is members of parliament and the media. that
Big
means
media.
the people
Big
on,
media.
that means Rukshan and I are gone. And this is a real problem. I mean, because I like to think that when it comes to mustering the forces for elections, alternative media is very important.
Look,
And I'm really worried about that.
Good point. Good point. And when you think about the disinfo bill, how much of that bill is designed to shut people up, like Rukshan, like you, like Avi? How much of it is designed to shut independent media up? And I think a lot of it is to do with that, because the mainstream media organizations, they're losing their influence. There's no denying that. There is no denying that they're losing their influence because people are sick of it. People have had a gutful of all the lies, the constant rubbish that they feed us. And that is why we have seen the rise of independent media. Independent media is a response to a problem. It is a response to a problem. And that problem is obviously mainstream
sorry
media.
to cut in there.
Yeah.
But
Are they calling it?
ABC is projecting Tasmania as a no.
Oh my goodness.
So already we got a state projected as a no. So Tasmania has come out projected by the ABC as a no.
All of the cousins have voted no in Tasmania. Yes, you're all cousins. I said it. What are you going to do about it? Leave me a comment on Twitter. Get on my Twitter and say, we're not all cousins, but we know you are. I'm joking,
I have
Tasmanians.
no audience. I have no audience down there. Like it's like a couple
cut off
thousand.
Our chances with getting the Tasmanians to join on board with what we're doing. Oh, look, Joel, Tasmania, no. What is this?
Look, it's the only Liberal government that's left around the country. I will say that it is the only. It is a very left Liberal government. I mean, they almost lost government the other day from one resignation. But no. Look, I look at this. I want to understand more about why the ABC is calling it. Like how much it doesn't show anymore. How much is it might be concluded, Rukshan, because there's so few people down there.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's a very small sample size for them to get through.
Yeah, like what's the population? 250,000 people in Tasmania.
I'm not sure what the population is down there, but we should try and figure out what percentage of the vote is counted in Tasmania.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We should,
I'll have a look.
It might be concluded, man. It might be done.
No way.
The whole count in Tasmania, you mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's what it shows because in the same spot where it has the count for the other states.
1 second, guys. I've just got another special guest coming in. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, awesome.
We love special guests.
New South. Oh wait, no. It doesn't. It's not concluded. New South Wales has been called for no.
I'll just try to get our guest on. Just give me a second.
That's all right, Rukshan. I'm just going to keep telling everyone. So
here we
New
go.
South Wales. Hey, there he is.
There we go. The main,
oh my goodness, Avi Yemeni
joining us.
How you doing, guys?
So, guys, Avi, if you don't know, Avi's actually currently in Israel, and we know we've been watching the news, and it's a conflict zone at the moment. And Avi from Rebel News, along with Benji, who normally does these live shows with us, is actually over there covering that conflict. Avi, thanks for joining in on our referendum night coverage. No doubt people want to know what's happening.
I'm so annoyed that I missed it.
Yeah, how are you guys? Are you guys safe? Like a lot of people are concerned about you guys being over there.
No, we're in a safe spot now, but I had to. You know what? We've been dying to see what's going on with the referendum, and I'm getting the news live now from you here.
Yeah. No, look at it. It's good news, mate.
New South Wales has been called as well, man. So we got, Avi, if you're just joining in, we got two states that are being called, projected by the ABC as a definitive no at the moment, 5 projections. New South Wales and
Tasmania. That's the one. That's the only one that was potentially yes.
Yeah. So look, it looks like it's about 15% that counted in New South Wales before they called it. It must be a statistical, thing that they do where it's like, there's no way this swings back.
This is amazing.
Avi, how you doing, my friend?
Good news.
How you doing, my friend?
Yeah,
how is it over there? Is there anything that you can say about the situation over there? Is it as bad as what we're seeing in the media?
I think it's pretty bad. It's a country that's on edge here, and I'm sure also citizens in Gaza are struggling hard as well with what's happening. And today, I think there's going to be potentially the ground incursion into Gaza. We're not too far, about, what are we, like 15K, 10Ks from the border now? 10Ks? About 10Ks from the border. So we're a bit backwards. We're in a town called Ashkelon, which is under constant bombardment from rockets. So you might actually hear a siren and a rocket. Hopefully, not too close to us. But the whole country. I've been to Israel many times. I've never seen Israel like this, where people are just on edge, and understandably, what happened exactly a week ago. This time 1 week ago, there were terrorists running down these streets, butchering people, hunting and butchering and raping. And anyways, my reason for tuning in here, for anyone that wants to follow my reporting, then you can go to thetruthaboutthewar.com, or you can check me on Twitter. I'm updating there. But the reason why I want to log in is because Rukshan, we were planning this live feed
I know.
for months. And we were supposed to be doing it. We were supposed to be doing it with beers in our hands. We were supposed to be having
and much better guests than Joel and
Senator
Babcock.
You settled for Joel. That's okay. You needed.
Yeah, you know you're desperate when you need the New South Welshman. Alfie, can I ask you a quick question though, non-politically? Yeah. To what extent did Dan Andrews prepare you for your coverage over in Israel?
Yeah, I gotta say, it's crazy because I know you're kind of asking that, and it's a sort of a joke, a little bit of a joke.
It's kind of serious though.
Real.
No, it's kind of serious. You know, you were shot at and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like when it's happening here, I'm kind of having delayed reaction. Like not like I think when there was a drone attack right next to us, it startled me for a second because the bang was so loud. But then it was like, all right, yeah, that looks all right. And you're right. I think Daniel Andrews, the streets of Melbourne through COVID probably prepped me for the idea of things just going off all around you, and just having to keep your cool head and keep doing what you're doing instead of freaking out. You could probably.
When do you come back to Australia? Are you there for a while?
Look, at the moment, it's a one-way ticket. I'm supposed to be in London on the 28th. I've got a book thing there. So in a couple of weeks, literally a couple of weeks. But at the moment, there's not really any flights out. So whether I like it or not, I've signed up for this gig. But I imagine I'll be back in hopefully a few weeks, and hopefully things settle down sooner rather than later. But I am really excited to see these numbers.
I mean, look, I think from what I'm reading here, only one more state needs to be definitively called a no, and it's defeated. It doesn't matter about how many votes and how many this and that. If one more state is projected as a no, then this referendum is done and dusted. So this might happen anytime.
And Queensland and WA haven't even come in yet. I mean, they're the biggest no states, you know, and we haven't even got a result.
So if the ABC is projecting the twos that done, and then Queensland and WA, like you said, hasn't come in, it looks like, you know, it's a no.
It's great. It's a great feeling to know that we actually live in a state or in a country of people. We're not completely lost. We may be red. People are likely going to have buyer's remorse, I must say. Like this is such a defeat that it can't not affect Albo. Albo's got to. He's got to essentially go, I feel.
No, he has to go.
For the Labor Party.
He has to go.
They're going to protect him. They're going to blame all sorts of
Do you reckon?
things. They're going to protect this guy.
I just don't know that you can. Like, they can say whatever they want, but clearly the Australian population from both sides are definitively against this idea, his baby, and that's his defying thing. How could they keep it? Right? It doesn't matter what they say, just even for their own branding, you know what? I hope they keep him. He's such a flop.
Yeah. Well, once you combine this with, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, the cost of living situation in our country, of how unaffordable just to be alive in Australia is, and you combine that with the voice, which he's obviously made his baby, it's going to be tough for him at the next election. It's going to be tough. Really, really tough. And we just can't let this go. We have to keep talking about it. He has to wear this one. He just has to.
Yeah, and can we all just make the point that, guys, just like after Brexit and just like after Trump 2016, your vote still counts. It still counts in this country. That's what we've been trying to say. You know, if you don't get out and vote, then the lefties, they just come and they'll take it and they'll steal and they'll run your country. You know, like you need to get activated, otherwise they'll just run roughshod over you.
That's right.
Well, this should be a lesson to the Conservative, to the Liberal Party, as you know, what's supposed to be the Conservatives. Look, you can actually stand on principle. You can stand on conservative values. You can be smeared as much as they want. They can call you racist. They can call you whatever big name. They can try and be as deceptive as they want. They can try trick and cheat and everything, and you can still win. If your message is clear. And the thing is, if you ask most Aussies, the people voting today, everybody knows why they're voting no.
Yeah.
People were struggling to know why they would vote yes.
Yeah. Everyday Australians are like everyday Australians know, because I'm hearing coming in as well that the ACT has voted yes.
What?
Yeah, I saw a image on ABC News AU. It says Australian Capital Territory has voted yes.
There you go. What about the Northern Territory? But the Northern Territory votes no.
Yeah. So either someone's pulling people's legs, or they're just counting that in terms of percentages, but it doesn't actually matter to the actual result.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you not have the ACT numbers?
It doesn't matter. I don't even they don't even put it up.
No, they don't put it up here because for those people in the audience that are listening, the ACT and the Northern Territory, they get added to the national vote. They don't get treated as a state. They don't have statehood.
Yeah, correct, because they're not states. You know, I still have to have this argument with people today and say, look, the NT and the ACT are not states. Still to this day, people don't get that. I had someone tell me the other day, oh, the government is racist because the Northern Territory doesn't have 12 senators. And I said, well, the Northern Territory is a territory. It is not a state. It's not about racism. It's just not a state. Anyway.
But isn't it funny, though, if it turns out that the ACT ends up being the only ones that voted yes, it just exposes exactly how silly and how delusional and removed from reality those who govern us are, because most of ACT is people that work in the public sector, and so they're the only ones, and it makes sense that they'll vote yes because it's their idea.
I'd be very interested to see the numbers coming from the Northern Territory and just kind of compare that.
Look, the ACT, my friend, is all a bunch of work lefties. The whole place.
These are your people, man.
These are my people.
You're one of them as well.
I'm an outsider.
Don't pretend.
I'm an outsider, and I will always be an outsider to the Canberra bubble. I'm just in there to
let me say that again.
Talk smack, drop the mic, and get out.
Always be an outsider.
Outsider. I am not interested in being part of that machine. Not interested at all. In fact, as soon as my term is done, I'm going back to the real world, going back to normal work and enjoying my life.
We've got you saying that so many times on this podcast.
So many times. I keep saying it.
What real world? You're a rich real estate agent.
Exactly. Back to my real world of doing that.
All right.
But can I just say, Avi made a great point before. I mean, you're right. Shame on the Liberal Party. I mean, they say, oh, we need the inner city seats in order to form a government, 50%. Mate, there's your 50% right there. There's 60% of the country right there. Southwestern Sydney, Western Sydney, Western Victoria, where Moira Deeming is. If you stop kneecapping the good Liberals out there, and if you actually properly resource them, then you might actually form government. But instead, they're focused on these seats like Menzies' seat, of Kooyong, and all these other inner city seats that are just filled with white Liberals. Guys, you've got to look to the suburbs, look to the immigrants, and spread your message there.
You can always count on the immigrants to get things right.
There's no white person. There's no white person on here. Actually, I just feel like
there's all a bunch of brown people saying that the voice is racist. Look, I think as immigrants, you appreciate being in Australia more. You appreciate hard work. You appreciate, the sweat of your brow. You appreciate these kind of things more. You haven't been brought up in such a world where, you can afford to, virtue signal as such as immigrants. I think overall, anyway. Maybe second and third generation immigrants different, but me as a first generation immigrant, I value hard work so much more than some of these woke lefties do. I tell you what. Absolutely.
So I'm just trying to.
Somebody says here we need a token white person. Where's
Benji, Harvey? Put Benji on the screen as well. Let's increase the diversity.
Hey, there's heaps of good
We've actually
people.
we've got a white person here for it.
There we go.
But there's Benji.
There's Benji.
Can I? Oh, holy crap! Holy crap!
Yeah.
Queensland is in.
Joe.
Queensland's in. It's barely in, but it's like 90% no. But like that'll come down. That'll probably come down.
No, already.
So I think look in the next next half an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes, we should definitely know.
Yeah. I mean, Queensland will probably come down to about maybe closer to 70%. Late 60 to 70%. But I'm very confident about Queensland. I mean, those people up there, they get funny about me. Someone that looks like me, and so I think that. There's a bit of a racist vote, but there's a lot of people that get across the detail. They have some great senators up there, like Senator Hanson, Roberts, Matt Canavan, Gerard Rennick, and they're educating the people up there about the detail of the voice and exposing it.
On that point, I wanted to say Senator Hanson and Malcolm Roberts from One Nation, they've been doing a lot of work on social media around this. Particularly with their cartoons and a lot of the educational stuff, and really just hammering.
Gee, those cartoons are good, aren't they?
Those cartoons are good. I think you made an appearance one, but just hammering the no side on very specific things that have been said by the people that were around, creating the architects that we call them of the Uluru Statement. They've been hammering them, and I haven't really seen that even from the Liberal Party. Like it's been a bit weird, like seeing that, like. They've kind of been cruising and really putting Jacinta Price at the front of all of this. But the One Nation, Malcolm Roberts and Pauline Hanson, also along with Senator Babbitt from UAP, have really kind of stepped up. I mean, one of the points of contention for the yes side is that UAP, Clive Palmer, has prosecuted some of these issues in terms of putting support behind it and also taking up the AEC.
Yeah.
How do you respond to some of the criticism around Clive Palmer's support for the no campaign?
All these other big corporations, right? I think BHP, Qantas, all the big banks, Cricket Australia, I think, as well. All these organisations, these giant corporations, they all put millions and millions of dollars in, and it's no problem. The second that Mr. Clive Palmer, the chairman of UAP, does it, oh my God, the world's going to end. The world's going to end. It's absolute rubbish. I mean, you can really see who controls the narrative, who controls the country, and it's the woke activists. They are who controls the nation right now, and it's all about that long march through the institutions. They've marched through that thing, I tell you what. And mum and dad at home, keep being involved in the political process, get more involved in the political process, join a political party. It doesn't have to be the UAP, but one of the other ones, and be more active in the whole process. That's what you got to do, everyone at home, because we can't keep letting these institutions, these woke groups take advantage of us in the way that they've been doing it thus far. That's got to come to an end. Absolute rubbish. But we're very lucky to have a guy like Mr. Clive Palmer on board that supports the United Australia Party, but not only the United Australia Party, supports traditional Australia first, traditional Australian values. Very, very lucky. So we actually took the AEC to court quite recently, and it was over the ticks and crosses thing that was going on. So basically, when you go to vote, for those of you who have voted already, some people potentially might tick the box. If they tick the box, it's counted as a yes. But if they put a cross in the box and say, "Oh no, cross," then that's counted as nothing. It goes in the bin. So what we were arguing that if someone ticks a box, it's counted as a yes. Then a cross should be counted as a no. That's all that we were saying. Now, what percentage of people are going to put ticks and crosses is probably very small. But what it was about for us, it was about fairness. We wanted it to be fair. That's all that we wanted. We want fairness in the referendum, even if it's 1% or 2% or whatever else. It has to be fair. If a tick's going to count as a yes, a cross should count as a no. And basically, the court said, "No, we're not down with that. Someone puts a tick, it's a yes, and if I put a cross, it goes in the bin."
Yeah.
But that's how
And
that went down.
Yeah, I mean, I never saw a problem with corporates on the opposite side getting involved in the no campaign. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on businesses to support the no side. I mean, you very rarely saw that. You've seen people doing it privately, but not publicly.
Well,
Maybe
how much
people are
does
reluctant.
how much do ESG scores have to do with that? I wonder.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure if they do have anything to do with it, but maybe it does. You know, these organizations trying to boost their ESG scores. For those of you playing at home, ESG is environmental, social, and governance. So that's what that means, and it's a way for unelected private institutions, private groups, billionaires, etc., to control what a corporate does, what a private business does, by giving them a score.
But why would
an
they
ESG
be,
score.
why would they be so interested? Avi, I'll put this question to you. Why are these corporations so interested in having this advisory body? I almost feel like, they have an agenda there themselves by having this advisory body instilled.
I think it's just them playing to the government. They're literally, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. We saw that with clearly with Qantas and what seemed like dodgy deals at the back. But you know what? I think, and to the point that you were making before about the fact that One Nation, UAP, who else did you mention? The guys that really went out, the Lib Dems, all those that really stood up and explained proudly why not, as opposed to the Liberal Party who played it so safe, like they were treading carefully. Half of them are freaking voting yes, but they were treading so carefully because they didn't want to take a position publicly, and you saw during this campaign how, like you said, it was okay to promote yourself as voting or your company as a yes, and to campaign for the yes, and it doesn't make sense if you look at it from the outside, because you can see clearly you're going up against, and anyone with half an IQ could see that the country wasn't really on board. So why were you doing it? And it's not. Don't tell me you care. You don't care.
They don't care.
So it was there was political. There was some sort of gain there, and where I don't think everyone made it as clear as Qantas, but there was something to be gained there. And
you know what, as well, Avi?
And the fact, yeah.
Whenever you have more bureaucracy, more red tape, it only advantages giant corporations, because they can afford the team of lawyers, the team of advisors. They can pay the fees that will inevitably come from if the yes was to get up. They can afford those things. And all it does is it shuts out their competition. It shuts out the little guy. That's what it does. Bureaucracy is never a good thing. Never.
Can I just say, I've got it. Sorry, Avi. I've got it on good advice that it's actually because these corporations, especially BP, $2 million, or Rio Tinto, $2 million, if you have one voice that you can talk to rather than go to the individual 300 nations, it's easier to actually access and get permission to get to the resources. So I'm saying that. All right, I'm saying that. You can say Joel's saying that. I'm really worried that this is the problem here. And I think this is why a lot of the black sovereignty movement, they have a problem with this. People like Alec Dumaji, who I mentioned earlier, they want you to negotiate a treaty, but not with the voice, directly with the tribe, because they say they believe there's 300 tribes. And so that I think there's it was an investment decision to donate to the yes side. It was an investment decision that they could justify to their investors,
Look, everything a big corporation does is an investment decision. Absolutely. And, it looks like this time they bet wrong. So screw you, giant corporations. The people potentially have won this one. That's what we'll say about that one.
I think it's important and for the public to remember that it was not okay to publicize that you were voting no. If you did, you were going to get hammered and smashed and called everything. But if you walk down the street, all you saw, did you see any? I don't think I saw once. I don't think I saw once on somebody's house or on somebody's business a vote no. Yes, everywhere, especially in inner city Melbourne. Everywhere, yes, and it was okay. And I didn't see anyone. You remember when I went out on the street to, talk to people? It was all yes activists. And it
Oh,
is
it's over. It's over. Sorry to cut you out, Avi. It's over. It's
done.
finished. Done and dusted.
Why is it finished?
Well, according to projections anyway from the
The
ABC,
third one.
South Australia has come out as no as well.
No.
It's
done.
Referendum defeated. There you go on the ABC. Referendum defeated.
Looks like Australians are not racist after all. They don't believe in dividing us by race.
Australia
And
has
the
driven
activism
Bloody
class.
latte sipping woke lefty activists. Screw you. Screw you.
We've got
go.
to play the screaming to the air, the Trump 2016 lefty screaming in the air. Come on, we've got to.
I can't wait to go on Twitter now. Next half of the show is reacting to people losing their mind, because they're going to lose their mind. Because I was going to read this actually. Referendum defeated. The Voice to Parliament referendum has been defeated. The ABC projects. New South Wales, Tasmania, and South Australia have voted against the change. I mean, it's only.
How do I
just...
tweet and be on this?
Mate, I'm going to tweet right now. I'm going to tweet
on my
right
behalf?
now.
It's
hop off and come back. Hop off and come
I'm
back.
coming back.
Retweet.
I need that glow.
Yeah, retweet the video. Retweet the video. Just tell people this is where you are.
There you go. Like,
all right, I'm
That's
tweeting
funny,
right
man.
now. Let's see all the woke.
popped off for now. He'll be back. He might call back in.
Can I just say something, guys, about the double standard here? Let's not forget that the Clive Palmer, we were talking about all this, him donating to the campaign. That's disgusting, apparently, because he donated $2 million. Whereas $100 million from these big corporates, it's fine. Let's not forget this one thing. Let's not forget this, and let's not let this get memory hold. Do you remember in 2021 when Craig Kelly and Clive Palmer sent all those messages out to people? And Crikey, the bastards at Crikey, put Craig Kelly's number in their article and said, hey, we think it's wrong that Craig Kelly is texting you. Here's his number, 043456. And then they said, go let him know what you think. And then Craig's phone, he literally had to throw the phone out because he had to keep it turned off because everyone was calling him and harassing him. Yet the Yes campaign texted all of you guys.
Yeah,
not a word.
These people are disgusting. Not a word.
They were leaving voicemails, all sorts of things. Yeah, 100%. And it just goes to show you that there's always been a double standard in these type of things. They tried their hardest, the progressive left, the wokies, with all their corporate help and the celebrities, to shame people in this country, to shame them by calling them racist, by calling them all types of names.
Ridiculous.
To vote. Not in their interest, not in the interest of the indigenous people in this country, I truly believe. So voting no, people have shown them that truly, faced with all of this criticism, that people can still turn out and do the correct thing in these type of instances.
I think you got to play the Andrew Neil video because he explains why people did this.
I'll pull that video up actually. Yeah.
Now, while you're pulling it up, how much did this exercise cost us? Like $350 million-ish, something like that, roughly. Joel, did you know how much?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? $350.
How much did this all cost us? $350 million. Everyone at home right now that is having problems filling up your car. Everyone that can't find a home to rent right now. Everyone out there that's struggling with going to Coles or Woolworths or wherever else you do your shopping to pay for your grocery bill. I went to Coles not long ago, and to fill up a basket was like $100. $100 to fill up a freaking basket. All of you, think about that for a second. Think about what the Prime Minister should be focused on and instead what he focused on.
Yeah,
think
100%.
about that at the ballot box next time. Garbage.
Let's actually tune into the ABC because that might be entertaining. Let's just tune into our national broadcaster, see how they're dealing with this.
A national broadcaster, I can't. Oh, man.
Let's just tune
It's going to be like an orc dying. It's like,
And I think that as we've heard from all the panellists right across tonight, is that this is clearly a message that things need to be done differently. lead in this country when it comes to political debates and the way that we
Are you guys hearing
have
that?
national
Yeah, we can hear you.
conversations about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And there's an enormous challenge for us to grapple with, I think, in how we talk with rather than about.
There's explosions. Do
And
you
that
hear
goes
it?
back to the point the Senator was making about some of the really
Yeah, let's just cut that off for a second.
horrible.
Let's cut it off. Harvey just said there was an explosion.
Harvey's saying there's explosions where he is. So, guys, you're watching. Harvey's actually joining us in from Israel at the moment.
It's done. Oh, did you hear that? We're supposed to be in the bomb shelter, but see if you can capture it. Do you want to come out there? Can you guys hear that?
We can hear you, Harvey. Yeah, we're listening in, mate.
Can you hear the explosions?
No.
Yeah.
You wanna go in?
Mate, if they're telling you to go to the bomb shelter, man, just be safe, seriously.
Those guys are not hiding. Come.
Mate, God bless Benji's heart.
Benji is very brave.
Benji, you don't have to come. You don't have to come if you don't want. It's up to you. I think that's done.
Avi, show us what the scene looks like out there.
Where are you?
So we're right now in Ascalon, which is like this is about 10 k's from the Gaza border. So this is actually not. This is the kind of area we're staying in because it's relatively safer. But like you see, like that was just air raid sirens about to run to the bomb shelter. And then I can't see where it's hit. But there was three rockets that I can't tell if it looks like they hit because there's no, if they were intercepted, you see the thing. So they've hit somewhere in this city. But yeah, this is where we're kind of based because, like I said, it's safer than where we're reporting from. Which, yeah.
Are there many people on the street, or are you the only matter to be out there?
There's hardly anyone here right now in this corner because this is the central part, like where there's the one shop that's open. This is the most people, and there's about 7-8 people here. It's a ghost town. Everybody's inside, and like that. It's been pretty quiet this morning. Like it hasn't. That was the first one we've heard in a couple of hours. But that's the reality. Anyways, that interrupted. I knew it would happen when I was tweeting and trying to celebrate. But all good.
So it's surreal scenes there, guys. Avi Yemeni's joining us for this referendum live stream from Israel, and if you're joining us, obviously Israel and what's happening in Gaza is on the front pages. Even with what's happening in our country with the voice referendum, it's on a lot of people's minds, and you're seeing firsthand just how serious things are there. Taking it back to the
actually, before we carry on, seeing as No has won,
yes,
I have a bottle of whiskey here, and I'm going to have a drink.
Oh, that's just harsh. That's just hard. That's even harder than running from bombs.
What do you got?
Some whiskey.
What have you got?
I got Shivas 12-year-old. Oh, hang on, we're going to take a photo. I've got my camera lady over there. Take a photo for Twitter. I'm going.
All right, let's do it, Ralph.
Not only am I going to have a scotch after everything I've been through, but I'm going to have it in a Donald Trump cup. How do you like that one? In a Donald Trump cup. Hey,
Ralph, I'll match you. I've got an Arab cup that every Arab in Western
cup.
Sydney has.
I have the same
What's
cup.
the Arab cup? Can you just show me the Arab cup again? What's the Arab cup?
Sure. Ethnics love those kinds of glasses.
It's the one with the sort of the sharp sort of indentations on it.
That's a Sri Lankan cup.
That's
made in Sri Lanka. Made in Sri Lanka. This guy. And what am I drinking? So in honor of the crown, King George V. It is a $1,000 bottle. I don't usually drink this, okay? And I've been sick for about a month and a half.
You have.
And I'm very much looking forward to this, mate. I almost died for this referendum. It is a story for another day. But
I'm glad you're not.
In the meantime, we are celebrating. We are celebrating this win. Here's to Brexit. Here's to Australia. Here's to not putting race in the referendum.
Drinking water, mate. I'm drinking water. I'm still on my regime of being healthy and
good man.
But look, congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations to Australia.
Can you imagine it turns around like a bit later on and we lose?
Nah. I'm already looking at all the tiers on the left on my Twitter, which I'll get to very soon.
Listen to the tone. Listen to the tone on the ABC. They were completely different.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the coverage of the Queen's funeral.
Can I quote the Lord of the Rings Gimli when he went into what's it called, Rohan? He said, "You'd find more cheer in a graveyard."
In a graveyard. The graveyard. Yeah. He did say that.
This has been the ABC's, I guess, secretly pet project.
By the way,
I've got someone else joining in as well. 1 second, I'll just get Michael on.
Lord of the Rings.
Before we go there, can I just say, guys, if you guys are listening, this is to you guys. Cheers to the freedom movement. Cheers to conservatives. Right. Cheers to everyone that stood up against this thing. This is your win. We just happen to be the faces, but cheers to all of you guys in the freedom movement that pushed against this thing from the start. You didn't wait for the Liberal Party. You stood against it on principle. God bless you. This is your win. This is a win for Australia. This is the turning point for Australia. God bless you.
God bless everyone. God bless our nation.
And we've just got Michael Arbon just jumping in as well, former UAP candidate.
So Michael Arbon is a former UAP lead Senate candidate in South Australia. Michael Arbon did such a great job that when I won, I actually said, you know what, we're going to keep Michael Arbon on board, and he absolutely has to become my advisor and the lead in South Australia for the United Australia Party from here on. So Michael was out today at the Booths. Michael, tell us more about your experience. What happened today?
Yeah, Ralph, I think you've been a politician too long. You're telling a few lies about how good I am there. Look, out at the Booths, it was pretty good. You can tell I'm a bit sunburnt, so the sun was shining that day. But look, the feedback at the booth, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. It was a little bit towards yes, but now we've counted the votes tonight. No one in my booth by a few percent. There was only one ballot that had a male appendage, which is great.
A male appendage. So somebody drew a dick on the ballot.
That's right. We were expecting a lot more for the referendum, but we only had one. There was only 8 informal votes out of 1,000. So people took this seriously. Most of them wrote yes or no, which is really surprising. People went in quite, lethargic and people don't like referendums or elections, but most of them voted formally. It's good to see.
So, have you seen the result, by the way, of what's predicted so far?
It seems like it's all over. It looks like the people.
Are you surprised?
It's all done, man. Everyone's calling it now. It's all finished.
Thank you to the people of Victoria for finally waking up. It's good to see.
I'm actually surprised. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm surprised that SA is looking like it's coming in as a no. I thought SA would be kind of dicey, but it seems to be a pretty strong no from what I'm seeing here on the results.
Ralph, I'm a country boy. I spent last week on the Eyre Peninsula. I barely saw one 110-kilometre sign that wasn't defaced and turned into a no. The country people in SA came in really strong for no.
Well, happy days then. So,
Rukshan, can you show us some of the reactions? I need something to laugh about.
I'll pull up the reactions. Give me a second.
Victoria's looking pretty close, though, ladies and gents who are playing at home. Yeah. It's 48-51 at the moment for
it's not
Victoria.
Close, though. How much
48-51
counted? 30%. That's a 3%. It's 3% difference.
Look, with Victoria, we might have to wait at least a week or two until the full count is in because it's that close. But it is looking like it's almost a 5 or 6 state landslide, which is it's very good.
Victorians, stop letting me down, Victorians. Haven't we suffered enough?
Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get
it. But hey, Ralph, if we win this thing, it shows people, hey, the vote isn't rigged. If there's 10% of people that sat on the sidelines in Victoria, it's like, hey, if you guys got out, Victoria would have been a no. Thankfully, the other states dragged you through this. You can move off this win. There are things we can take away from it.
All right, let me just read some of these reactions here.
PR guy.
One of the, someone that's been pushing.
Harvey's best mate. Harvey, it's your best mate.
Pushing this. So he's written, Tas, New South Wales called for a no pathway from here for this referendum, with Queensland just starting to report. and a whole heap of other stuff. But he said at the end, a David and Goliath battle.
No. He also says he also says a well-organized disinformation blitz backed by big money. What big money? What big money? Nobody donated to us.
Mate, 100 million. Hey, reminder. Just let me run people through this. 2 million from BP, 2 million from Rio Tinto, 7 million from the big banks. You had Pfizer, you had Coles, Woolies, and Qantas. There was no business that backed no. There was no business.
Qantas gave them free flights and two or three aeroplanes with their insignia or whatever to use. This is not David and Goliath. The only David here is the No campaign.
Yeah, the No. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's a Yes campaign.
Disinformation. They were running the 80% lie, the 80% of Aboriginal supporting the voice lie up until the last minute when it was proven as a complete made up crap.
Someone community note this guy. Get a community
the
note.
80%, the 80% figure, as we said before, comes from 300 Aboriginals. That was an online survey. We don't even know if they're Aboriginal.
You know what it was, guys? You know what it was? It was misinfo, disinfo, and the Russians. It's got to be the Russians.
Bloody Russians.
The Russians, man.
Bloody Russians.
It's the Russians have flipped this referendum.
But it's just so laughable. It's
reading from the
exactly
ABC
what they're
yesterday.
saying.
Despite gaining twice the exposure of the No camp on mainstream and social media, campaigners for the voice to Parliament have failed to win over large numbers of voters.
Oh my God.
There you go. What did Pauline say? You
I was
said...
trying to pull up what Pauline said, yeah. So Pauline Hanson obviously campaigned very hard for the No side. So she's saying, heartfelt gratitude for our incredible 1,200 scrutineers and No campaign volunteers from Australia. Your dedication ensures transparency, integrity, and voice for the countless. I think she's just supporting the scrutineers because I think they organised 1,200 scrutineers.
Yeah, I saw that. She did. So good on you, Senator Hanson, for being involved in this campaign. Good on everyone who was involved in the No campaign. We were up against it. We were up against big money. We were up against big corporations. Yeah. We were up against big government. We were up against mis and disinformation, the lies from the Yes campaign. And you know what? Common sense triumphed. The Australian people triumphed. Vote 1 UAP.
Mate. Hubris is their downfall. Hubris is their downfall. It's Hillary Clinton all over again.
Guys, I'm going to have to...
No, go
I
for
love
it,
you, but I'm going to have to leave you. I'm going to have to leave you guys here. Congratulations to everyone. Congratulations and well done for running this one.
Stay safe, mate. Stay safe.
Thank you. For those of you that want to watch what I'm doing, thetruthaboutthewar.com. Otherwise,
and
I'll see you next time.
Before you go, if you want to read Avi's book, rebelfromthestart.com.
Love it.
I think you might have to add another chapter after you get back. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Avi.
Bye, Avi.
Take care of yourself.
See ya, Avi.
Say hi to Benji.
Bye.
All right, guys. Give me a second. Let me just
so why has this happened, guys? Why has this happened? You know, I'm looking forward to hearing Andrew Neil explain it because he kind of gave the game away in February this year. But are we still looking at tweets of lefties losing their minds?
I'm going to pull it up. Yeah, I'm just reconfiguring all this after Avi left. So a lot of this has been done on the fly, guys, to put this all together.
Yeah, can I? Yeah, I'll just say, guys, live streaming is quite difficult. You know, we don't have like the $20 million revenue that.
I'm giving you guys like the Sri Lankan media version, where I'm running it out of my office. And,
but hey, this is the people's win. This is what shows you this is the people's win.
That's
this is grassroots.
We managed to cover the live stream. We've had a special reporter from Israel joining in.
Israel's come in. South Australia's come in, and who knows?
Western Sydney.
Western Sydney's come in.
Sydney.
Victoria's come in.
Yeah,
mate, this is
all on Victoria.
It's all
on you, Ralph. It's all on Victoria.
You know, I thought everyone out there, when Rukshan has, the huge studio one day and 1,000 staff, and he becomes part of the mainstream media, and he sells out the the shill that he is.
Yeah.
Then we'll be like, yeah, do you remember when Rukshan first started, and he was back in the day, and he was for the people, before you become one of the big media moguls.
Yeah, man, I'm not destined for that type of thing.
You're not destined.
Murdoch 2.0.
Murdoch 2.0.
Murdoch.
Rukshan has far too much humility for that.
But in all honesty, though, ladies and gents, like people like Rukshan and people like Avi and all the others, Topher and all that, and for those that I've missed, please forgive me. You really are the future. You are the future of news.
Well, look, thanks to a lot of people don't understand with this current, particularly around this, information war that they're talking about with this, and they're calling it misinformation, disinformation. But there was a battle waging online. A lot of it was done on X, thanks to Elon Musk, because people on Facebook talking about this, people on other platforms talking about this were censored, were stopped from discussing this. But thanks to platforms like X, we were able to actually prosecute the case against these people who are using these like fact checkers and so forth against politicians, but also against the general public. And I think independent media, just the individual voices of people who are on the no side, a lot of people, just everyday people that really just kind of put in all this effort into this because they saw that this was a fight between, David and Goliath, and we were up against it. I started all of this in terms of not wanting to actually tell people the way that I would be voting. I was going to tell people this is the case for it, and this is why these are the reasons for yes and no. I'm not going to convince people how to vote either direction. I was going to stay neutral on that and just tell people how I was voting. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, but there was a point where I saw that kind of flip, and as soon as I saw these companies like Pfizer, we talked about this before, getting involved, and these big corporates coming in, these big celebrities coming in and just smashing the everyday person, right? Putting all this money behind it, and just really, the media wasn't really doing their job. It kind of pushes you to be more active in that space. And I broke out of that, and I started really telling people, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm voting no. And I think we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of media personalities. We saw a lot of people who wouldn't normally engage and tell people how they're going to be voting actually get out there and say, this is why I'm doing it. And I think that's made a world of difference for the people that actually stood up and did that.
But Rukshan, we got to be 100% honest about this. Everyone that is out there that's listening to this stream, everyone that has shared or liked or viewed any of our videos, this is your win. Like Senator Babbitt over here is a senator because of you. Rukshan, and myself, we have audiences because of you. And the good work that Michael Arbon does and the votes that he got in South Australia is because of you guys in South Australia. This is your win. We happen to be the faces of it. We happen to be the ones that get the lawsuits. We happen to be the ones that, cop the fines and everything. But ultimately, we do it for you. We do it for you to have a voice so that we take the slings and arrows. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're attacking us because they actually want to attack you. And this is your win ultimately. And I'm just so excited for you guys because I feel like it's been a rough 3 years. And any of you that have met me in person, I've said the same thing. I'm starving to get you guys that win. And this is that win. This is the biggest FU to the establishment of this country we've seen in a very long time. Yeah. And it's very similar to Brexit, and it's very similar to Trump 2016.
100%. And I just want to give out a shout out to these guys as well. Jacinta Price, Senator Price.
Can I say a few words about Senator Price? Okay. Obviously, I know Senator Price personally. Senator Price is such a decent human being. And the amount of abuse that she received from the Yes campaign was really uncalled for. She's obviously, that goes without saying, a strong woman. I've met her. I've met her husband. They're great people. And you know what? Her husband's white. I don't know if people out there knew that, but he's got fair skin. And she is the epitome of what Australia should be. All people living together. Doesn't matter where you're from, what color. No one cares really. And we really need to be equal. Senator Price, she's taken some arrows, some bullets for this campaign. We're very lucky to have her. She's not from my party, obviously. She's not from the UAP, but respect where respect is due, and I'll give her my respect for what she's put up with and what she's gone through. for this campaign. So good on you, Senator Price. Keep it up.
man.
Yeah, and I think, look, on Senator Price as well, I think it's great that she's now been introduced to the public in this manner, for her future, obviously, but for the fact that she stood up against a lot of this, and everything that you mentioned, the abuse and so on.
Oh my God, it was bad.
I think she's got a very strong, bright future within the Liberal Party. Joel, you can probably speak more to this, but I think this is kind of a really a very important and big moment for Senator Price as well.
I mean, the party, right? The coalition, they need people like that. They need people of conviction that have a view, even though the view may not be popular. At least, it may not be popular according to the mainstream news and things like, obviously tonight we know her view was popular, but she went out when no one knew what would happen with the referendum. She said, these are my views, I'm sticking to it, and that's it, too bad. That's what we need in politics, people of conviction. We don't have any conviction politicians left. Everyone likes to play focus group politics these days, and focus group politics is not the way that you lead a nation into prosperity, into the 21st century. That's not how you do it. We need to use this as a referendum against bad governance. This is a referendum against bad governance, a referendum against bad political apparatchiks. We need to reject all this stuff, and we need to look towards people that have kahunas and that say what they mean and do what they mean and practice what they preach. That's what we need.
And look, Ralph's absolutely right there, but what this is more so is an example to the Australian people that they have the power. Politicians listen to you. They care about your votes. They care about what you think. So winning this referendum shows that the people can change our nation, and it is the people that change the culture of a nation, not the politicians. And for the past sort of decade or so, I think politicians have been running with a lot of hubris, thinking that they are the ones that determine what our country looks like. And that is absolutely untrue. It is the Australian people that create our culture and that drive our country forward. So I hope that this referendum empowers the Australian people to vote a bit differently next election. As Ralph says, vote for the UAP, but just vote with your conscience. Vote for the person that best represents you. And we really need to start doing that, because if we keep voting for the lesser of two evils, we still end up with evil.
Well said. Well said. Could not agree more.
Let me so guys, we're gonna start taking some. Are you still up for being on a bit longer, Joel? Maybe half an hour. We might take some questions from the
Look, half an hour. I'm actually at my uncle's place. He was my dad's brother. I'm looking to celebrate with him because we've been looking forward to a big FU to the government for some time, and so I've been saving this bottle of scotch to have with him.
Yeah, man. You can jump out anytime you like, but we really want to take some questions now from those of you who have joined into this. So if you want to write a question, guys, we're paying attention now to the questions. So just put question at the start. We'll bring your questions up on the screen and respond to some of those. So just put question at the start when you type whatever you're typing, so we can filter through them.
Someone did write. I'm surprised they didn't rig it. As I said before, guys,
Mate,
I've been trying to tell you this for some time. The scariest day in my life was the day I realized that my actions do matter. And if you tap out of the battle, if you don't join a political party, if you don't vote in an election, it turns out that they steal the power. The left in this country are a small, vocal, very active, bunch of people, very vocal. And so and they control a lot of the levers of power in the media, in the establishment, in tech, social media, and we have to actually apply ourselves and apply 1% of our year to actually fight back against this. We're fighting. We've had 30 years of basically not engaging in the political process. Well, this is why we're here to help. I'm here to help upskill you guys in your respective states, so that in your next state election, federal election, you can actually win like this. But if you're not going to vote, I can't help you. But this just demonstrates that your vote still counts in Australia.
Yeah, 100%. Someone's put up a question. Will they find 80,000 yes ballots tomorrow? I mean, I think it's all done and dusted. Can
I explain to people how it works?
Yeah, explain.
I
think it's good to explain.
So guys, we had 2 weeks of early voting Now, the way it works is if you went there and you voted early, because that's where people are saying, what if they find all these ballots? The way it works is in those 2 weeks, at the end of each day, they get all of the ballots that were in that polling center and they send it to a specific location for each state for counting. Now, there is a chain of custody. There is a person's name. There's a signature. There is a barcode that is basically, if you break the code, they will know. There is a serial barcode on each of the electoral commission's sort of boxes that they have, and then they send them over there to, in New South Wales, I think it was the ICC Centre, Hall 6, and they can't be open until 6 p.m. on Saturday night, obviously today. And, the idea that, these ballots would just show up, I don't believe that's a big thing here. However, if you're really worried about the vote, become a scrutineer. Even now, go to volunteerforno.com.au, go become a scrutineer. Pauline Hanson's got 1,200 volunteers. I do believe there's something like 10,000 volunteers for the Fair Australia people. Become a scrutineer, secure the vote, and better yet, a lot of the people, the diehard people in my audience, they've been listening to me and joining the Electoral Commission and watching the count and securing the vote in that way. If you're really worried about it, but don't sit on a comment section and do nothing. I have no patience for that.
You're absolutely right, Joel. I've just come from scrutineering myself, and there's no better thing to do to build your trust in the system than to actually see it firsthand. If you see it firsthand, you will know that the margin for error is actually pretty slim. Everything is double, triple checked. One of our counts was wrong, but in the second and the third count, it was corrected, and I saw no issues whatsoever.
I'll pick up one other question now. Question, Rukshan, does Albo resign now? And I think that's something that's going to be... I said I'm going to leave this because Ralph wanted to get this question at the start of the night, but I said we've got to wait for this question till today.
That's confident. That's some Trump confidence right there.
Trump confidence. But look, I honestly, Albanese, his party, should get rid of him because this is going to hang over him like no tomorrow. This is going to hang over him. Like, people are going to put this to him all the time. Now, how he wiggles his way out of this is yet to be seen. I mean, these people are somewhat, particularly some of his supporters, are quite delusional, and they will find all types of people to blame. They'll blame you. They'll blame the everyday person. And what they're going to say is not that you made the correct decision. They're going to say that you were misinformed and, disinformation, and that, you weren't educated about the benefits of this. So this is why you decided to do this. But I think the biggest indictment on Albo is the fact that these people, these government people, if you've been paying attention to this very closely, every time they've spoken about why they need the voice is they keep saying, we haven't been listening, all right? These guys have been spending hundreds of millions, if not billions, or, over the course of so many decades on these programs.
40 billion every year. 40 billion every year.
Well, we could probably talk about this now. They won't fact check this anymore because there's no advantage to fact checking these type of very obvious things. They've been spending all that money, and they're saying that they told you for months now that they haven't been listening while they're spending your money. All right? These people are ridiculous. This is your government.
Can I divert for a second?
Yeah.
Thomas Mayo has called allegedly called the No campaign disgusting and dishonest.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna let loose now. These guys, they've been acting
allegedly.
They've been acting all prim and proper.
Mate. Yeah, Mr. Chicken Lettuce and Thomas Mayo. I love this guy because he explained the whole plan in his book. That's how we knew how to criticize it, because he literally, hubris is their downfall. It was in his book, all of these details. Yeah. And it's like, oh, they want to do a treaty, they want to do this and that. And it's like, oh, okay. Hey guys, this is the truth.
Yeah, I watched a video of Mayo paying homage to the communists not long ago. Pretty wild, actually.
Yeah, I mean that was very upfront. The links to the Communist Party and all, and the way that the progressive left, these socialists, these Marxists, they're all pushing for this thing, and a lot of them it's just ideological. And they feel like everyone has to fall in line with these things.
Back to what we were saying before. I'd love to get Mr. Arbon's Michael's views on what he thinks about the Prime Minister. Is his position tenable? Does someone in his party stab him in the back? Does he survive to the next election? He probably does survive to the next election, but what do the Australian people do to him at the polling booth? Michael, thoughts? Anything at all?
I would love to see him stay there and have to contest another election. He has legislated so many things which are going to adversely affect the Australian people. So energy price caps and industrial relations and all sorts of stuff, as well as this voice. And he's already told us that he wants to run a second referendum for a republic if he is re-elected. So imagine going to the next election, telling the Australian people that you're going to run a second unpopular referendum if you're elected. It's really going to ruin his chances. So I call out to the Labor Party and say, you need to double down and back Albo and make him run again, telling the people he's going to take them to another referendum next term, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Can I just explain something of process to people about this? So the Labor Party are very, very good at this. They're very good. Like, I've got to take my hat off to them. Idiotic when it comes to this proposal, idiotic when it comes to making other calls, but there will be a discussion about what's the best way to be electorally successful. Someone like Tanya Plibersek or Bill Shorten will be the ones that put their hand up. If they have the numbers, they might try and roll Albo and say, look, you're not electorally successful. This was a failure. This was your voice. You failed. And if that's the case, and then they come in, they've really only got about a year and a half before they, to clean things up. Or, who knows? They might do something crazy. They might do a double dissolution election, which would be suicide, in my opinion. But yeah, look, Albo, the heat is on him right now.
Yeah, let me just play this audio. Apparently, he's not attending the yes function, but he's going to watch it. I mean, he can't even face these.
Hillary Clinton. It's Hillary Clinton, mate. She didn't come out and admit defeat.
Yeah, let's just listen in, because I think he had a whole address lined up, but maybe he's not going to make it tonight. Yeah. Let's just listen into this news coverage.
Oh. Said to me today that they had allowed this campaign as organised being part of the water that difficult for many.
Okay, Fiona, thank you so much. We just heard the Prime Minister is not going to be attending the Yes function in Sydney. Our 9 News reporter Eliza Edwards from our Canberra Bureau is with us. Eliza, good evening. When and where do we expect to hear from Anthony Albanese tonight?
Where is Albo? Guys, I'll go find him. I reckon I can find him.
It's understood the Prime Minister is watching these bleak results roll in from inside the lodge tonight. It's at least one of his ministers is joining him, keeping him company. We saw Katie Gallagher arrive, entering the driveway about an hour ago. It's understood Linda Burney is in Canberra as well. We know later this evening Anthony Albanese will address the nation. We're not sure if that'll happen here at the lodge or up at Parliament House, but no matter the result, his speech will need to unify the nation, because this debate has been at times bitterly fought and divisive.
Indeed, yeah.
So yeah, he's not at the party, but he's still making remarks tonight. And I just pulled up a question before related to this. I'll just pull that question up again. Just give me 1 second. Any chance? What's the chance Albo and Labor will still go through with the voice now? So he came out and said 3 days ago that they're not going to legislate it, right?
Mate,
no,
if he legislates it now, that is the definition of suicide. The country has rejected his proposal, well, as far as I can tell, so far, well and truly rejected his proposal. If he goes out now and says, screw you, Australian people, I don't care what you say, and I'm going to legislate it anyway, he's not smart, but he's not that stupid.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but on Monday, the voice working group is starting. Like, they're going to look at how to actually construct this thing, aren't they? I do believe I read that this week.
I'm not sure about that, Joel. But Albo talked about, well, the media talked about reunifying the nation. Albo's not going to be able to unify the nation by coming up with excuses here. He's going to have to present some humility and say that he got it wrong. Absolutely. And, I expect they'll come out with those buzzwords, misinformation and disinformation. They might even throw racism out there. But the reality is the only information that was lacking was the information that they gave to the Australian people. I think we were ill-informed, and that's a big reason why it went down.
So just coming in that ABC is also called it Queensland as well. I'm just letting people know. We'll still keep an eye on the results coming in.
It's possible they've actually called this thing and stopped counting. Excuse me. Yeah, it's possible.
The fact that the Prime Minister is not coming out to front the cameras, at this time anyway, he might come out later, is really disappointing Really disappointing. He needs to come out and just say, you know, the Australian people have decided I was wrong. I'm a bad prime minister, and you were all correct.
That's not going to
That's
happen.
what he should
Let
do.
me pull up this question. Question: Isn't the plan now to introduce a voice equivalent via each state parliament? Yes. So states.
Yeah, they're still pushing
states
ahead.
are.
So
doing the
South
work.
South Australia already has one,
Mm.
and the idea is the people that make up that body that are selected. I do believe those people will be favoured and maybe even somehow voted to be the people that are on the national body.
Mm.
So it's look, the states are engaging in a treaty making process, a voice making process. It's kind of disgusting.
It's pretty bad, especially because we've rejected it as a people. It should end
Queensland.
there.
So there's the result for Queensland. So yeah, it's been projected to know. I mean, none of this kind of matters, but it's interesting to know that how each of the states land. You can see Victoria at the moment.
Yeah,
it's probably
WA. The polls just closed in WA like 5 minutes ago. So that's why we don't have WA.
Looks like Victoria might end up being the one that potentially goes either yes or gets closest to being a yes. Which I'm, being from Victoria, I'm not surprised. We are all about
surprised at all.
Woke virtue signaling in this state, and a lot of the people in this state, voted for Daniel Andrews multiple times. And look at the disaster that we're in. So I'm not surprised that they would have voted favorably for such a disaster to befall the entire nation. But let's see. It'll be interesting if everyone across the board is a no, and it's just Victoria and the ACT who are yes. It tells you everything you need to know about where Victoria is at the moment.
Absolutely everything. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And on that, we've got a Christina Bebic. She's got a question. When can we get on the beers?
Mate, we're already having a drink now.
You can start now.
You can start right now. I've got my Trump cup. I know how much the lefties hate Trump. I've got my Trump cup. I've got my scotch in the Trump cup, and I'm enjoying it. So it's been a hard few months. Hard longer than that. But congratulations, Australia. You've rejected racism. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, guys, I do need to get going. But if there's one thing, if we're able to play one thing, can we please play the video of Andrew Neil, because he explained on Q&A of all places why this thing went down.
100%. I'll pull it up now.
I was annoyed at the time because he gave the game away.
Yeah.
But I'll let the video speak for itself.
Yeah, I'll play a bit of it now. Just give me a second. This is from a few months ago now. I remember when this aired.
Legendary broadcaster Andrew Neil was on, and he gave the game away on The Voice. He warned them about what they'd experienced in Europe. I've mentioned this a few times in my past videos, but he gave it to them on a silver platter. This is what he said.
I understand why you want as many people as possible to be on your side of the debate, but actually you can have too many. If it seems like a carve-up among the political elite on the left and the right, there will be a populist reaction to that. And it could actually be your downfall rather than your victory. People often vote for reasons that have got nothing to do with the question being asked. A lot of people voted for Brexit in Britain, not because they were particularly interested in Britain leaving the European Union, but they wanted basically to thump the establishment. And this was the best way of doing it because the whole of the British establishment was in favour of staying within the European Union. So people who felt marginalised, who felt left out, poorer cities in the north of England and so on, they felt, hey, this is the way we'll get them to take notice of us. I covered years ago, not long after dinosaurs ruled the earth, a referendum as to whether Norway should join the European Union or not, way back in the early 70s. In that referendum, all the trade unions were in favour of joining. All of big business was in favour of joining. All the mainstream political parties were in favour of joining. Nearly all the media, pretty much all the media were in favour of joining. The Norwegian people said we're not going to join. And I think it was just them saying, we're not going to be told what to do. This is our one shot for us to make up our own minds.
After giving him that very clear...
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I love that as well, Joel, because it really explains how, you can't tell people you have to do this or you're a bad person. That can't be your main point of difference when you come to something so massive as this, right?
Yeah, and can I just say, he later on goes on to say in that panel, he says, I don't see any of the no people on the panel. I mean, there's a lot of yeses here, but there's no one making the case for the no. And that's our taxpayer-funded entity. We pay the
Confirmation
ABC over
bias.
$1 billion in taxpayer funds, and they're not showing the other side. That's because that discussion is happening here, and that is why they want the misinformation bill. It's going to be their revenge on all of us for destroying their precious little voice that no Aboriginal person actually really wants. But guys, I do have to get going. God bless you all. Thank you for making this a success, this voice referendum. If you're scrutineering, please stay hard. It's not too late to sign up as a scrutineer at volunteerforno.com.au. We've still got 2 weeks of counting, so please secure the vote. But I want to say again, thank you, Rukshan, for doing this stream. He's going to keep it going. And thank you for the headache of putting it up and all the technical side of it.
All good, mate. Thank you so much, Joel, for joining in and sharing your insight. Guys, if you're not following Joel Jamal, please jump on, find him on his socials, at Joel Jamal on Twitter, but he's more active, I think, on Facebook, where they are censoring him hardcore already. Anyway, he's one of those censored people, just like myself. And but look, get behind Joel, guys. He does a lot of great work in terms of understanding data, understanding these relationships between different things. Like I do pay attention to that stuff, but I'm not very good at explaining it the same way that you do, Joel. So it's been great having you on this, I guess it's like our panel today to kind of give us a bit more insight into what we're looking at. So thank you very much, Joel.
See you, mate.
Awesome. Thanks,
you,
thanks, Michael. See you, Ralph. Senator Babbitt, have a good one. Enjoy your scotch.
Catch you, bud.
All right, ciao. Thanks.
All right, guys. So let's just.
Any chance we can bring the numbers back up? Just
I'll bring it up. Just give me a second.
Just have a look.
Before we start, I just wanted to say if anyone's joining in now, just because I've just seen some of the comments, some people are not sure if this is done or dusted yet. The referendum has been defeated. The no side has overwhelmingly crushed it. Albanese's voice to Parliament has been defeated. Yep, cool. Good. You can look at the numbers.
Look, that's pretty resounding so far. I'm shocked that South Australia is so much towards a no. I really didn't think that would happen. Same as Tasmania. Victoria, obviously, is a joke, so whatever. The hell's going on in Victoria? Queensland, we knew was always going to be a no. WA numbers aren't in yet, obviously, but not that it matters now, but it'd be interesting to see anyway what happens in WA.
What's interesting to see in South Australia, I'm just looking at some of the seats. So in the electorate of Grey, it's 78.5% no. Barker, 75% no. Both those electorates have some populations which have big Aboriginal populations as well. So they're regional areas and they're going really, really heavy no. So it shows that even the areas that have the Aboriginal populations are voting strongly against this voice. It's terribly designed. It's not fit for purpose. I've got the front cover of our paper here today. Get on my voice wagon. The wheels have fallen off the wagon, and Albo's going to be walking home, I believe. He spent a lot of time in this state over the past few weeks thinking that he could swing it, but he's going hard though.
100%. I want to pull out this tweet from David Limbrick from the Lib Dem. So he's written, remember that they thought you were stupid enough to support something because the banks, airlines, MC Hammer, Shaq, and literal communists supported it. Now they will try and convince you it didn't pass because most Australians are stupid and fell for misinformation, and they will attempt to censor it. Say hello to the ACMA misinformation bill. Don't let them get away with it.
Exactly what I said before.
100%, yeah.
Exactly
That's what you said.
Yeah.
And I truly believe they are going to go hardcore against...
as their excuse to push the bill.
Yeah, just to stop people from actually, debating government's ideas. They're going to try to stop people from showing them up. The everyday person and independent media, they're going to try to fully shut that down.
Yeah, it's actually quite worrying that they may potentially try that. I mean, I hope they don't, but mate, who knows? The government, you should never trust the government, any government, ever.
Someone's just asking about the NT results, Senator Ralph Babbitt. Have you seen anything about the numbers?
The NT results, I have not seen the NT results. Michael, have you seen the NT results?
No, I'm just having a look now. I haven't seen anything yet, no.
I got an NT specific question. I think we kind of answered this before, but I'll bring it up for you, Michael. What happens in SA now that how do you pronounce your premier's name exactly? I don't want to get it wrong.
Peter Malinowskis. He loves to take a couple of photographs. That's what he's known for.
Malinowskis, that's it, has introduced it on a state level.
Look,
what's the discussion
I believe
for you guys?
that now, I think it's really important that the Liberal Party and the opposition in South Australia actually say there's a mandate to repeal that voice, because it's obvious. We've got seats voting nearly 80% against a federal voice. There is no reason to maintain a state voice. They haven't completed the elections for the voice yet. It hasn't started functioning. There's still time to pull it back. So Malinowskis is a pretty good marketer. He's got a pretty good team around him. He's good at selling, but the numbers are doing the talking here. He has to have a long, hard think about this, and I would suggest that he repeal it while he's got time before it goes too long, because he'll lose support over that voice heavily.
Yeah, you should definitely repeal it. Someone's asking me here, what's going on with Victoria? First, Dan Andrews as you know, a tyrant basically, and now it might be the only state that comes even close to voting yes. You know what? I don't know what's going on with Victoria. The only thing I can think of is that everyone left during the the dark days of the Andrews government. They all just packed their bags and probably went to Queensland. That's what happened there.
Looking at the territory, there's only 3% counted, but at the moment,
it's very early days in the territory.
No.
Yeah.
68% no. Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for you, Senator Babbitt.
Sure.
This is from Donovan. Third time asking question. Senator Babbitt, what are you going to do in the coming weeks to defeat the misinformation, communism, ACMA bill?
Good question. But what I would say is, Donovan, what are you, Donovan, going to do? I think there's a problem in this country. And Donovan, you've actually maybe unwillingly pointed out the problem right here. The problem is the inability, or maybe the reluctance, I don't know what you want to call it, but people at home not taking responsibility for what happens in our country. Let me tell you this. No one's coming to save you. I'm not coming to save you. Batman's not coming to save you. Superman's not coming to save you. The Flash, you know what? The Flash is busy right now. He's doing something else. You have to save yourself, Donovan. You have to take an interest in the political process beyond saying, that person saved me, that person helped me. You got to save yourself. So my question to you is, what are you going to do in order to make sure that this bill doesn't pass? Are you going to sign up as a member of a political party? Are you going to print flyers out and hand them around your neighborhood? Are you going to talk to your friends and family about what this bill might do to their futures? Are you going to write an email to your local Labor or Liberal member of Parliament, or to the senator in your, not me, I already know what's going on, but one of the other ones. Are you going to write them a letter? Are you going to call them on the phone on Monday morning and make an appointment to go and see them on Wednesday morning? Actually, no, I think we're sitting next week, so the week after. Are you going to go and see them? Are you going to make a time to see your local member and say, hi, local member, I'm Donovan. I'm worried about the misinformation bill. I want to talk to you about it. Let's talk. Are you going to do that? Are you going to donate to a particular campaign? Maybe someone's running a campaign. Donate to so we can buy flyers and advertising and stuff like that. Are you going to do that? So Donovan, it's on you. Do not ever divert responsibility to other people. I've done my part. What have I done? I sacrificed my life, my family, my businesses in order to be in federal parliament to fight for what I believe in. Are you going to do that? Up to you.
And I was just going to say, it sounds like you're attacking Donovan, but I think you're using him as the example.
Donovan is the example. It's probably not even his real name, right? Fake photo, fake name, whatever. But it's like, what I'm trying to give people the idea of is, it's not up to your elected member to save your life, to save your future. You have to take responsibility for where the country goes. I have taken responsibility. Rukshan has taken responsibility. Michael on the feed has taken responsibility. Everyone who's been on the broadcast tonight has taken genuine responsibility for the direction of the nation. I just want other people to do the same. And if they don't, then the nation's stuffed. If they do, the nation's going to be great.
I don't think people realise how little contact it takes for an elected member to take an interest in an issue. If you contact your local member and you get 10 of your friends to do it, they're going to understand that this issue exists and that you're not going to vote for them or back them if they vote the wrong way. This misinformation bill, it's not popular. The submissions they received were largely against it. So I don't expect it would pop up in the same form, but we know that they are intent on censoring speech. Because now they know that with the likes of Twitter or X and other platforms, we are getting the truth out there, or at very least, we're getting a good contest of ideas, which means that results like this can occur because the Australian people have been well informed. They haven't been misinformed or led down the garden path. So a bill is coming, whether it's this one or a different one, time will tell, right?
Someone put in here, it's great what you're saying, set up a bit, whatever, but you never get to meet your local members. They don't answer the phone, they don't answer emails, and you send them a letter and you get no response. I understand that, but that's not good. That's not good enough. Whoever put that comment up, go to the office. This is your local rep. Be nice, be polite, knock on the door. You probably won't see your local rep straight away, but just speak to the receptionist and say, hey, look, my name is so-and-so. I live at this address. And, give your real details. Don't go there and looking for trouble. Give your real details. Give your real information. So I'd love to talk to my local member. This is who I am. Can I please see them? And you know what? That's how you can't just send an emails. We get 10,000 emails a week. It's not good enough. You have to go there in person and make yourself known. And you know what? Maybe you don't get a meeting. That's fine. Yeah. But the receptionist or the admin person, the office person, whoever's working there will pass the message on at the very least. And that says a lot. When the member comes in from wherever they've been, because yes, they are busy, they'll come in and the person will say, hey, today we had 6 people come in and they all wanted to talk about X, whatever that thing is. And that makes a difference because we don't usually get many people in. Well, I do, but the average person doesn't get many people in. And if that happens, they're going to take it seriously. They absolutely will, because the only thing a politician cares about is being re-elected next time and keeping their cushy-ass job. That's all they care about. And, if you're threatening that cushy-ass job, they're going to do something about it. And they'll take back the information that, they get from their electorate office back to the halls of Canberra. And then when they're having their group meetings on the Monday morning or whenever these people have their big catch-ups, they're going to say, hey, you know what? This week I had 6 or 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever it is, people come into my office and they all hate the idea of this bill. You know what, Prime Minister? I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not losing my seat because of this. Let's drop this. And they'll drop it.
That's right. 100%. I just want to change up the pace a little bit and just bring in some of these reactions again. I think this is a reaction we're going to see on some of the people that really hard campaigned for the yes side, particularly online forums. I'm just going to bring this up, and sorry for the language, but I just want to show you what some of these reactions are like. This is from a lady called Claire G. Coleman, and she's written FUCK. Anthony Green elections called it already. The referendum has failed. Australia is a racist shithole. Always was a racist shithole and remains a racist shithole.
Well,
we need
leaders. We catch the first flight out if she likes. The first flight out of Australia. Off you go.
We need at this moment, with this kind of rhetoric being pushed around, these leaders that actually campaigned for the yes side to actually turn down the temperature a bit as well, right? We need leadership to actually come out there and say, no, the response to this from people who campaigned for the yes side is now not to go on the attack, calling every single person a racist, because if you look at how these votes are playing, coming together now, this is a cross section of the community that's defeated this. This is not people who are always, politically from the right or something like this. This is a cross section of the community that it takes to defeat something like this. So I think this attitude of just going around calling everyone a racist now and saying Australia's a shithole and we should be ashamed, this needs to be called out from within Parliament, from the top, from the Prime Minister. I don't know if he's made a speech already, but if his speech doesn't include him actually mentioning something along these lines about how people are meant to behave now from his side, you don't have to worry about the no people. No people are celebrating. They're not going to be out there calling people racist and saying Australia's a shithole. They're going to be celebrating, saying this is a beautiful country. We defeated racism, and this is what we did. The other side now, because they accuse the no campaigners and no side of being the very thing that they are now being themselves. And in this defeat, they still need to be gracious and accept that the public has a different view. And this is not the direction the country is going in anymore. We've kind of stopped it for the time being, at least, of going down this race-based separatism in our constitution. And this should set the tone for how people now react to this in Canberra. Are we going to see Senator Babet in Canberra in the coming? When do you guys sit again? When's the next sitting?
Monday. So
Monday.
I'm back in Canberra on Monday morning.
On Monday morning, I want to see all the yes supporting politicians, all the leaders, get up there, use that 2 or 3 minutes that they have to speak, and actually, I'm sure they'll grieve about it, which is fine. This is what they push.
Look, they need to eat some humble pie.
Yeah.
They cannot push the garbage that they've been pushing for the last however long anymore. The Prime Minister's got to come out. The first speech he gives has to be, Australia voted no to my racist proposal. I apologise to the Australian people for wasting $350 million of your money. I'm sorry for neglecting the cost of living crisis. I'm sorry for the fuel prices, the food prices. I'm sorry that you don't have a place to rent. I'm sorry that I'm going to bring in around 1 million migrants, approximately, roughly, without the appropriate infrastructure to deal with it. I'm a failure of a Prime Minister, and I step down. That's what he should say
100%.
on Monday morning.
I just want to pull this in. Just give me a second. So they're already blaming the like what we were talking about. This is I forgot this politician's name, but she's one of the campaigners as well, one of the major figureheads, and she's already talking about the misinformation bill. So this is on ABC right now. Let's play this and have a listen in.
Question, Bridget. I mean, clearly one of the areas that we were dealing with throughout this, and it's been mentioned tonight, but also throughout the year, is the misinformation and disinformation campaign on social media. I know that as I travelled across the country, I think I spent more time trying to correct misinformation and disinformation out there. And even at the polling booths, you had in places like Mataranka, for example, where you had voters going in thinking they were voting no to fracking, for example. In Tannin Creek, voters were told if you vote yes,
Bit of exaggeration here.
You won't get any royalties. So there was a terrific amount of deception on the ground as well as in the social media.
So were Australians deceived? Is that
oh my goodness
your argument?
I can only say the places that I'm very aware where it occurred, David, and I've named some of them. I can certainly give you more examples of other places. I would say that was a large part of the No campaign, or disinformation and misinformation was something that was picked up. And we tried to correct that every time we went anywhere. So, for example, I remember in Adelaide, I was asked about.
Anyway, we've been hearing about it's this disinformation line that they're taking. It's a very new thing. I think it's during COVID, post-COVID, it's increased, and they blame that for almost everything. In the past, you'd have a defeat. You'd go back to the drawing board maybe, and you'd figure out where it went wrong, what you can do better next time, and so on. But now, particularly those on the left, the Labour Party, they are jumping straight down into this whole, it's disinformation. That's why we lost. It's misinformation. And you're seeing it now playing out in real time. It's ridiculous to see. I didn't think I'd see it so early, but it's actually happening as we're speaking. They're not holding back.
It's happening in real time as they're still counting the votes.
As comments and people have mentioned.
Oh my God. These people, man, these people. How do these people get elected? What the hell is going on?
I'll just add to that. That was Senator Malarndirri McCarthy. So she's one of the Aboriginal senators in Parliament, and Aboriginal heritage. There are more than 10% of our senators have that heritage, and obviously that's well overrepresented as a percentage of the population. So the Australian people already elect far more Aboriginal people than what are in the population, which proves in itself that we're not racist. I feel a bit sorry for Senator McCarthy. Linda Burney is the minister, and she's been quite absent throughout the campaign, you may have noticed. And they put Senator McCarthy in against Jacinta Price in a debate last week on Channel 7. And I can tell you what, Jacinta Price, she won comfortably. And
I saw that, 100%. Let's bring in another reaction. I got another architects of the voice referendum, Thomas Mayo. I'm going to bring him in.
This communist, yep.
Let me bring him in. Let's have a look.
I think that the proposal that we have made is the right one. We need a voice. We need that structural change. And we got it right at Uluru. But we have seen a disgusting no campaign, a campaign that has been dishonest, that has lied to the Australian people, and I'm sure that'll come out in the analysis. I'm sure that history will reflect poorly on Peter Dutton, Pauline Hanson, all of those that have opposed this. And so, you know, I don't know what's next, but it's just devastating.
Do you feel anger towards the Australian public? You spoke, I can hear anger in your voice right now.
I'm not angry at the Australian public. I think that the Australian public were ready for this. I disagree when people say that they weren't. I disagree that this was a bad idea because I know that we needed that foundational change, you know, to be recognised and to have a guaranteed representative body, not politicians that purport.
I just stopped that there. I think it goes on for a bit. But look, he's saying we spent almost $400 million.
Why wouldn't he just come
for
out and
Australian
say,
people to decide? And they decided. You got to you can't
you have to respect that.
You have to respect that without this kind of
Respect
absolute nonsense, I think.
Just come out and say, look, the Australian people decided, and they decided no.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that. You know, we'll keep working, we'll keep pushing our cause. But for now, that's it.
He doesn't have a plan B. He said he doesn't have a plan B. How do you go into something like this without having a plan B, at least, or something to say that, okay, we're going to try this now? It's just like, oh, well, it didn't happen. So, well, you know, we wasted this much money, and we've, you know, it's all everyone else's fault. It's Peter Dutton's fault, and so on. Come on,
look,
give us a break.
Like I've said before on this broadcast and every other time I've done an interview about this topic, nobody is saying that we should not do more to help disadvantaged people, Aboriginals or anyone else for that matter. And like I keep saying, the way that you help the disadvantaged, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, is you help people by providing more opportunities. You help people by providing education. You help people by taking, you know, alcohol out of communities where family violence is you know, a real problem. You help people by, you know, teaching those people how they go about helping themselves. That's how you do it. And that applies to every community, not just Aboriginal communities. Had the referendum question been, you know, should we recognise Aboriginal people in our constitution? Yeah, sure, why not? You know, let's recognise them. But the question wasn't that. The question was, essentially, and do not let the lefty activists gaslight you, the question was, do we divide a very multicultural country by race? Do we give some people of a particular persuasion more rights than other people in our community? That's what the question really was. And this is a multicultural country. You got, you know, two brown guys here that have been on this broadcast all night. You know, our fair-skinned guys joined us now. We had another brown guy on before and another brown guy from Israel, all saying that this is racist. You know, we're saying no because we're saying no to racism. But we will say yes, and I'm sure I'm going to speak for all of you, and if I'm wrong, tell me. But we will say yes to helping disadvantaged people more. We can always do more to help the disadvantaged.
100%. If one good thing's come out of this whole referendum thing is that the focus on Indigenous issues in this country, I think, has been good. You know, whether that's was worth the $400 million that we had to spend to do that is something that's going to be debated. But I think the focus is important and it's good because I've, for the first time, I've mentioned this before, heard all these politicians, these useless politicians who have been sitting in there for decades, some of them, saying that they haven't been listening to these people and spending, you know, taxpayers' money and the community's money into these programs and into these groups who say that they haven't been listening, they haven't been doing anything constructive with it because they're not listening and blah, blah, blah. It's the same line that they keep using to convince us to vote for this thing. If that's true, like what have these people been doing? So definitely, someone like myself, I have a very keen interest in how the government's going to be dealing with this issue going forward. I think it's very important now that, you know, we don't just look at this as, oh, they'll take care of, you know, these issues that Indigenous people are speaking about in this country. Like even on the no side, just into Price, when they're prosecuting the case for the no campaign, they're not saying that there's no issues in the Indigenous community. They're just saying there's a different way to deal with it. And I think it's important that we, you know, realize that there are real issues there, and the way that we, you know, go forward with this becomes important now. So I think it's one kind of silver lining perhaps that the Yes campaign should maybe be talking about, instead of saying, you know, everyone's a racist, saying that, you know, maybe one of the good things now is that everyone kind of knows about some of these issues, right?
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be up to us to you know, be bringing these things up. That's what the other side should be doing. I mean, we're doing their job for them right now, but you know, that's because we're decent, good conservatives. That's why we're trying to help them out here, give them a bit of a win. But you know what? You're right. We can do more to help disadvantaged communities. We absolutely can. No one from the beginning has ever said that we should not do more to help the disadvantaged.
100%.
But the problem is that, you know, this kind of stuff like The Voice always gets corrupted and taken over by woke activists like this Thomas Mayo guy, which we just watched. He's not a, you know, he's just an inner city woke lefty activist.
I don't want that guy's ideas in the Constitution.
I don't want that.
Because he's a guy without a plan B. He just told you that. You want a guy that's got no plan B. You want his ideas in the Constitution of our country.
Yeah.
These people are out there saying they don't have a plan B. These people aren't thinking, you know, straight about what they're doing. They tried something, it failed, and that's the end of it.
He actually came out as a communist not long ago, and I watched a video where he was, you know, paying homage to his, you know, communist compatriots. So no, thank you.
Speaking of communists, I just want to bring up the because, you know, it's not just Australia where we're grappling with a major question. Even in New Zealand, there's the election today, so it's a very consequential thing for the people in New Zealand as well. They're across the ditch. And it is not looking good for the communists in New Zealand at the moment. The party of Jacinda Ardern. So someone actually brought it up as a question: Labor defeat in NZ, and it's looking like a Labor defeat. And let me just pull up. I had an article up before, just to kind of give you guys a bit of an update on this.
I was listening to ABC Radio yesterday. Don't judge me. But they were already foreshadowing, obviously, this loss in New Zealand and blaming the fact that Jacinda Ardern had resigned, so therefore the support for Labor had reduced following her resignation. The support had well and truly fallen before
I want to give you guys a bit of insight. I you know, obviously, I talk about this all the time on this live broadcast. I am a wedding photographer, videographer, so. This week we have been doing a wedding. It's a multi-day wedding, and the actual the groom is actually from New Zealand. So, and this is an ethnic wedding, like an Indian style wedding, and there's about 10 groomsmen that have flown down, and they're all of Indian background. And they actually were talking to them during the photo shoot yesterday. They actually flew down for a day for the wedding, and then they flew back today for the election, and they're coming back again tomorrow for the reception. And so that's how committed they were. And they were wearing and chanting, wearing the Nationals attire, the Liberal Party equivalent, and doing chants throughout the wedding and celebrating the fact that the Labor Party was going to lose. These are just like everyday guys who are involved in business. And, you know, I think the community spirit in New Zealand against the Labor side, that was obvious a long time ago. And that is why Jacinda left. Right, so this whole thing they're trying to prosecute now about Jacinda Ardern, maybe if she was around, possibly this wouldn't be this bad. I don't think so. I think it might have been even worse if she was there and she got out of there. So, yeah, New Zealand, it looks like Labor is done for. Just reading this article, it says New Zealand election 2023 live results. Nationals take strong lead. Nightmare for Labor. Analyst says latest update. So I'm not going to speak too much about this because I don't know the... I guess the ins and outs of Kiwi politics, but it is not looking good for the Labor Party. So that's with 64.4% of the votes counted. A right-wing coalition is still in a position to form government. There you go.
Oh, that's good. Good
so
for them.
For those of us in Australasia, it's been a good day.
So, somebody asked me a question. They said, where do I stand on citizen-initiated referendums? Where I stand on that is I think it's a great idea. I think citizens of every nation should be able to initiate a referendum. Obviously, the mechanism as to how we get there can be debated all day long, sure. But as a concept, I think it's solid. And I would love to see that because at the end of the day, you know, you can't govern without the consent of the people. And if the people decide that they want to do X or Z or whatever else, then we should at least put that on the table and talk about it. So I got no issue there.
100%.
I believe the same thing probably should apply for legislation as well. If you can get enough community support, get enough signatures behind an issue, the people should be able to introduce a bill. And I dare say we should start with the Bill of Rights. We need to guarantee
Absolutely.
some basic freedoms in this nation that are lacking. And look, I don't like us ever playing with our constitution because it is designed to limit the power of politicians, and we need to protect ourselves from those in power often, because power does corrupt. So if we can give the people more power to initiate these types of things, I think it's fantastic.
Now that we're talking about government, the other thing that I actually wouldn't mind seeing is term limits. But not just term limits for politicians, but term limits for people that run bureaucracies as well. So the people that, run the different arms of the government, these people, I guess Trump would refer to these people as the deep state. They have a lot of power, probably in many cases more power than your parliamentarian that you elected has. These people sit in their positions of great power for years and decades, and they can push whatever agenda they want, and they get no scrutiny at all while they're pushing this agenda. They get influence from all sorts of globalist organizations, and they basically, in a way, do whatever they like, and they're not accountable to the Australian people. They don't ever have to face elections. So I think people that are in the bureaucracy around Canberra, both federal and state actually, should be facing term limits, and potentially at the very highest levels should also be facing election as well. I really do think that. It's because, we all, well, some people have a very, squeaky clean idea of how Canberra and the bureaucracy around Canberra works. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not as squeaky clean as you think it is.
And, we're very fortunate to have Senator Babet on here. Babet.
Thank you.
I noticed Senator Babet, I was going to ask you this. They struggle sometimes, these the speakers and stuff, when they're calling you out. They struggle with your name. It's so simple. It's just Babet.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's not that difficult. Come on, guys.
But we're fortunate to have Senator Babet on the live stream today, just giving us that perspective from Canberra. I want to pull up another reaction here. So let's just keep looking at a few more reactions. If you're wondering how much longer this is going to go on, guys, we're probably going to wrap up around 9 o'clock, so in about 15 minutes' time. But let's just have a look at a few more reactions. So this is from a heavy yes campaigner.
Tonight, I stand with millions of Australians filled with a deep sense of shame and anger and grief that we have failed to say yes as a nation, that we have failed First Nations people, that we have allowed fear and division and hate and misinformation to poison our hearts and the well of decency and democracy and justice. I feel such a deep sense of shame as an Australian tonight, a deep sense of grief that we have failed First Nations people. And that collective grief we're feeling in the millions, and I want to thank the millions that did vote yes, and there are millions of us that chose to be on the right side of history today. But that grief we feel is nothing compared to what First Nations people are feeling tonight. They'll be asking themselves, how can the country that we've been on for 65,000 years not even recognize us? How can the country that we are the custodians of not even acknowledge us? How could this country of ours not even acknowledge our right to a voice on the matters that impact us?
I mean, yeah.
Look, this guy, he's got a bit too much milk in his coffee. Let's put it that way. Is he coming out as an activist, or like an Aboriginal activist, or is he not?
He's Greek.
He's Greek.
He's Greek. He's been going on about the Greek community and how they should all vote yes and all this kind of stuff.
I mean, he just, he said all Aboriginal people are going to be, upset by this. Basically, is what he was saying. But what about Senator Price?
Exactly.
What about her views?
Who are these people talking about? Oh, who are these people talking about when they say all Indigenous people? Like the fact that these, and sorry to be so crass, but these white people continue to say all Indigenous people are going to feel a certain way is complete nonsense. Like Indigenous people are not a monolith of views. They have different views and they see themselves differently in this country. And the fact that there's a whole group of people out there, particularly this activist class, who are very much comfortable with painting them all with the same brush, I find very uncomfortable. And I'm glad as a country we've said no to this nonsense for now. These people will try again. They will try again. This is not the end of this. They will try again, or they will keep crying about this. But I'm saying, as a country, at this moment, I think we should be proud of this result?
Well, we absolutely should be proud because we've come out and said we reject division. We overwhelmingly reject division. Yes, we say we need to do better to help people at disadvantage. Absolutely, we do. But we reject dividing us like this. It's not right. And the fact that the Prime Minister even tried to do this really tells us a lot about who he is as a person. The Prime Minister, he's not a leader. He's not a leader. A leader, unites. It brings people. He or she brings people together. The leader of a nation. He's not done any of that. All he's done is tear us apart. That's all he's done. This referendum is a referendum on Prime Minister Albanese. That's what it is. And Prime Minister Albanese, he has failed. He has failed. We need to punish this man and the Labor Party at the next election. We also need to punish the Liberal Party because, let's face it, they know better. Half of those guys and girls probably voted yes. Let's punish those ones as well that we know voted yes. Let's punish all of them. Vote one, UAP.
Well, look, I mean, yes. I got two UAP people here. I got to keep a balance.
You got to balance this out.
I got to balance it up.
Vote for the right person.
One of the good things about people are dismayed with the Liberal Party. Some of them voting yes and even campaigning actively for the yes side. But in a way, that represents a good position for a political party that they can have a different views expressed, and people can go out there and share these different ideas. But I do agree with you. The Liberal Party does have to stand for something, and we have seen, I think, Senator Price really spearhead that and show us what they stand for when it comes to this particular issue.
You're right there, Rukshan, and we've seen some real good role models for the Indigenous people emerge throughout the referendum. So Jacinta Price, Warren Mundine.
That's right.
They're solid, successful people who have done a lot of truth-telling, to steal one of their terms. They are telling the truth about what is happening in Indigenous communities. They're telling the truth about the rorts within the organisations that already exist. So I think on the other side of this referendum, we can review the systems that currently exist and make them better. And we can use people like Jacinta and Warren to speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Because if we can't talk openly and honestly about issues that exist, we're going to keep repeating the same mistakes. And I don't see the Aboriginal people as a problem to be solved. They're Australians just like you and me. There are well-off Australians and there are disadvantaged Australians in all walks of life, from all races. And we should treat everyone the same. If you live in a remote area and you don't have a job, well, the harsh reality is you might need to move to a city to get a job, because that's the way it works no matter where you live in the world. It's not a racist thing to not have a job where you live. You've got to find work wherever it might be. So, that's just one example of the truth that needs to be spoken out loud.
Yeah, absolutely. Rukshan, any chance we can pull up the results when you
I'll
get a
pull up the
moment?
results. Give me a second.
Let's just go through them.
Yeah.
I
got a bit distracted by I'm looking for the left wing tiers, but I'm happy to do the results because it's important to look at all facets of this.
Let's go state by state if we can.
All right, cool. Let's bring up the states.
All right, New South Wales. What do we got? 42.5 compared to 57.5. So that's a no. It doesn't say how many votes have been counted, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Victoria's.
Yeah, the no side's pushing up again.
ahead.
So it looks like Victoria will be a no as well, potentially.
Why are Victorians such woke latte sipping nerds?
No, it's fine. We might end up being a no. We might have some hope in Victoria.
Senator Babbitt, claim the victory. You've swung Victoria to a no.
I mean, it hasn't been called yet, but I'm saying the numbers have shifted in the no direction.
They have shifted towards no.
Potentially the Stockholm syndrome when Daniel Andrews left. Potentially
it's fading away.
That faded away, and maybe people are more prepared to express themselves without dictator Dan, without the fear of the
of him sending the cops to your house.
Well, that's
I'm
right.
joking, by the way, everyone.
That's Victoria and Tasmania.
All the cousins in Tasmania have voted no, which is good.
South Australia,
a bunch of weirdos. City of Churches, I think you call it, Michael. City of Churches.
This whole state is God's country. There is nothing great in the world.
Queensland's doing well, as we expected. So They're what are they? 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And SA, I'm really surprised by SA. Actually, I'm really surprised. I did not think it would be that far towards the no. I thought it'd be kind of like Victoria.
The media did their best to try and dampen our spirits, but obviously the silent majority was always there.
The silent majority, that is super important. So everyone out there that's watching this broadcast, like we're seeing here in these results, you've got to take a greater interest in the political process. You are more powerful than what you think you are. Your voice is powerful, but more important than your voice is your action. You have to be involved in the process. Michael, who's on the stream right now, was out scrutineering today, and he also volunteered to hand out how to vote cards. I was there myself as well, handing out how to vote cards. Rukshan has put his life on hold to start broadcasting about the kinds of issues that we face in our nation and also all around the world. You've got to do the same thing. You've got to do the absolute maximum that you can do in your circumstance, in your community, in your neighborhood, in your suburb. You have got to be the change that you want to see. I said it before, no one's coming to save you. You got to save yourself, and you got to save others around you. It's up to you. It's really up to you.
Just looking at the results for the highest percentage vote for yes, we've got Melbourne, Grayndler, Canberra and Sydney. Now, Grayndler is Albo's seat, and we've got 3 inner city, as Ralph says, woke, latte-sipping activist electorates who have all voted the strongest towards yes. And I would pretty much bet my house on the fact that those electorates probably have the lowest Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander populations in our nation. It's outrageous. They're obviously not in touch with reality.
100%. Let me just, we're almost at the end, guys. We're going to be wrapping up very soon. I'm just having a look if there's anything else that has come out of the Prime Minister's made a statement or anything like this.
Check that. While Rukshan is checking if the PM's made a statement, if anyone has any questions, fire them off right now. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Just put question in capitals before what you type, and we'll just quickly go through them like real quick. So let's go.
Come up, yeah.
Let's go. I mean, this feed's got thousands of comments in it, so it's going to be over almost like 8,000, something like that, comments. So it's hard for us to see all of them, but keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I've just seen a tweet that said that Albo and Linda Burney will make an address to the country at 9 p.m.
Oh, maybe we'll stay up for their...
Let's wait till
Let's wait for their address, and we'll bring it to you guys live through our... I was going to say partner network, but it's not. Our taxpayer-funded ABC, right?
Taxpayer-funded ABC.
Something useful for once that they're doing is actually showing all this and covering the referendum, which is what they should be doing, of course. But we'll bring it from there.
A question: where are you drinking tonight? We're drinking from the Rukshan, the real Rukshan Studios. I've had a couple of scotches. That's about it. Question: Albo eats a something. I'm not going to answer that one. Question: can we still submit for the ACMA bill? Michael, do you know if that's closed or if it's still open?
It's closed. It's closed, and it's only an exposure draft. So the bill is yet to be introduced or finalised. And the response was terrible. Most people hated the bill. So I do hope they bury it, but don't hold your breath.
All right, next question. My grandma passed away recently. Any idea how she voted? Well, mate, she obviously voted yes. Goodness. What else? Question. Where is Albo now, and why isn't he visible? He's at the lodge, I think. Is that right, Rukshan?
Yeah, I'm
at the lodge.
I'm just going to bring in Warren Mundine. Sorry, guys. Give me a second.
When the Australian people won.
Well, is reconciliation now dead in this country?
Oh, no.
What happened? Some funny business going on.
Your dodgy internet, or they were like, Rukshan's on the feed. Cut the feed.
What's going on? Did ABC just cut Warren?
Cut the feed. Warren's about to say something.
Around Australia is one. They want practical outcomes for Indigenous people. They're sick and tired of governments mucking up things. They want it to be fixed. And, of course, the other thing is they do want to have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people recognised in the Constitution as the first people of this country, and they are very proud of the Aboriginal people and its history.
Thomas Mayer spoke to the ABC a little earlier, our colleague Isabella Higgins, and said that he's not angry with the Australian people. He believes the No campaign ran a dirty campaign of lies. There were many things that your campaign said that weren't true. Do you regret taking that approach?
I reject your what you just said.
The idea of dividing on racial division when there's already race in the Constitution, that's not factual.
Well, the factual is that I'm Aboriginal. All my life I've been told I'm a member of the Aboriginal race. My parents have been told that they're a member of the Aboriginal race, and therefore it is race. And Torres Strait Islanders is a race. Look, they tried to sell a furphy, which was that, for 200 and something years, we've been classified as a race of Aboriginal people. And then when they want to put it in the Constitution, they say it's not about race. Well, it is about race.
Indigenous people are, many, not all, clearly you're not, but are heartbroken and feel like this is a time of mourning. What's your message to Indigenous Australians who are, I think, probably having a really hard time tonight?
Look, the thing was, they were promised something that didn't exist.
Oh, it keeps freezing.
Okay. Someone said, Rukshan, do you think we should defund the ABC? What do you think about
that Aboriginal?
Yeah, definitely defund the ABC, but they're good for this kind of purpose. But you're seeing right now this activist journalist.
This is not a journalist. This is not a journalist. This is an activist. What we are witnessing activism masquerading as journalism on the taxpayer dollar. This woman, this network, defund them right now.
Yeah, but I want to make it clear. Like, it's okay for journalists to have a view. It's okay. Like,
except they masquerade as being fair and balanced.
That's right. So
that's the problem.
I'm very open about my views, and I'm very, clear in terms of the why I'm taking a particular position and so on. And I'm happy to have people judge me on that. These guys, like these guys on the ABC, this interview that you're watching right now, they will pretend that they're being fair and balanced while they do this. Now, some of the questions you saw her put to Warren Mundine just before about, is it race-based and stuff, he clearly had to explain something very simple and basic to her, but she's portraying like, well, that's a lie. And he just told her, no, it's not a lie. You've been telling us we're a race for so long. I mean, how can the ABC just go out there and ask these kind of ridiculous things? I'm just going to keep watching that, though.
No, Lingiari is leaning. There are no remotes in, only 2 small remote polling places.
All right, we'll come back to that. We'll wait for the Prime Minister's comments.
I really want to see what the PM says.
Yeah.
If the PM says anything other than the Australian people have decided and I was wrong, then I'm going to be very disappointed in the Prime Minister. If he even pulls out the word, alludes to the fact that maybe we were racist or
actually, Michael, can you look up what NT's numbers are like? Someone's saying they're voting no.
Yeah, they're voting no heavily, but I'll just double check where they're at.
Just double check that. Because that might answer some of these questions about race.
So we're seeing sort of the only response from the Yes campaign so far is about hate speech and racism and misinformation and disinformation. It's nothing but buzzwords from what I can see.
But there's no clear numbers yet for Northern Territory yet, or is it kind of just trending to a no?
Now, full results. So Northern Territory is 32.5% counted now, so a pretty big sample size, and more than 60% no. That's heavy.
Well, there you go.
Far out.
There you go.
Lingiari's 65% no.
Yeah.
Like heavily rejected. And Lingiari is the vast majority of Northern Territory. That's all of the remote regional areas.
I'm just going to go to the bathroom, guys. Hold the fort.
So what you were saying, that's a predominant, that's one of the major parts.
It's the most of the state of Northern Territory, or most of the territory, most of the landmass, which is all the remote Indigenous communities.
Yeah.
That's a huge surprise, really. Like, it's pretty much all of the landmass of Northern Territory apart from Darwin.
So, but what's the excuse they will make for this though? Because
I'm assuming they'll say that the people were misinformed or ill-informed, and
yeah,
that can't be true. I don't think there'd be any people who would be more informed on this issue than the Indigenous people themselves.
of course, yes, and you know who is going out there and misinforming them and so on. If it's not the actual the campaigners themselves from the yes side who are saying that they're spending time in these communities informing them about what this is about. I mean,
Probably the only card they have is social media, which they will obviously try and blame. But we know from the ABC's coverage themselves that the coverage of the Yes campaign has been more than double that of the No campaign on social media. So that doesn't hold either.
Interesting. I'm just trying to wait for Albanese's address here. Oh, he's watching. He's speaking now. 1 second. Let me just go into it.
Wait for the buzzword.
Australians. At the outset, I want to say that while tonight's result is not one that I had hoped for, I absolutely respect the decision of the Australian people and the democratic process that has delivered it. When we reflect on everything happening in the world today, we can all give thanks that here in Australia, we make the big decisions peacefully and as equals, with one vote, one value. And I say to the millions of Australians all over our great country who voted yes with hope and goodwill, the people who volunteered with such energy and enthusiasm, many of whom were taking part in their first ever campaign, that just as the Uluru Statement from the Heart was an invitation extended with humility, grace and optimism for the future, tonight we must meet this result with the same grace and humility. And tomorrow we must seek a new way forward with the same optimism. My fellow Australians, the first time I spoke to you as Prime Minister of this nation, I repeated a commitment I had given many times before as Labor leader. I promised that our government would seek to implement the Uluru Statement from the Heart. I gave my word to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders and elders who had poured their hopes and aspirations into that extraordinary statement. I spoke to the people from all walks of life and all sides of politics, the people of every faith and background and tradition who had embraced this cause. I promised our government would seek to answer the generous and gracious call of those 440 powerful words through a voice, recognition, enshrined in the Constitution. I never imagined or indeed said that it would be easy. Very few things in public life worth doing are. Nor could I guarantee the referendum would succeed. History told us that only 8 out of 44 had done so. What I could promise was that we would go all in, that we would try, and we have. We have given Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people the fulfilment of their request, that we take forward an idea that had been decades in the making, and we would give the Australian people the opportunity to decide for themselves. We have kept that promise. We have given our all. We argued for this change not out of convenience, but from conviction, because that's what people deserve from their government. And of course, when you do the hard things, when you aim high, sometimes you fall short. And tonight, we acknowledge, understand, and respect that we have. As Prime Minister, I will always accept responsibility for the decisions I've taken and I do so tonight. But I do want Australians to know that I will always be ambitious for our country, ambitious for us to be the very best version of ourselves. I will always be optimistic for what we can achieve together. In that spirit, just as I offered many times to cooperate with people from across the political spectrum on the next steps in the event of a yes victory, I renew that offer of cooperation tonight, because this moment of disagreement does not define us, and it will not divide us. We are not yes voters or no voters. We are all Australians. Because too often in the life of our nation and in the political conversation, the disadvantage confronting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people has been relegated to the margins. This referendum and my government has put it right at the centre. All of us have been asked to imagine what it would be like to walk in someone else's shoes. And we've been challenged to examine decades of failure from both sides of politics, despite all of the good intentions in the world. Indeed, those arguing against a change to the Constitution were not arguing for the status quo, because no one could say that more of the same is good enough for Australia. Let us hold on to that truth, because a great nation like ours can and must do better for the first Australians. And while there has been talk in recent times about division, let us now cooperate to address the real division. The real division is one of disadvantage. The division that is the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians in life expectancy, in educational opportunity, in rates of suicide and disease. The gap which separates Indigenous Australians from the right to make a good life for themselves. I supported recognition through a voice because this was the vehicle that Indigenous Australians believed could change this. This was the change they asked for at the First Nations Constitutional Convention at Uluru in 2017, after a process that involved hundreds of meetings and thousands of people. And I want to make it clear, I believed it was the right thing to do, and I will always stand up for my beliefs. It's now up to all of us to come together and find a different way to the same reconciled destiny.
I might pause that there, but we just had a special guest joining us, Clive Palmer. Clive.
There is a new national awareness of these questions.
He's back. Clive, you've just been hearing some of the comments from the Prime Minister here, and obviously the country's now dealing with the result of this referendum. What are your thoughts on how this has all turned out?
Well, I think it's predictable and it's disappointing because, all race relations in Australia is a very complex thing. The biggest disappointment for me was the fact that the Prime Minister said he supported the Uluru Statement from the Heart, but he said he only read the first page. Yet the statement consisted of 24 pages and had a very definite program for what was going to happen to this country, and he needed to look at that situation. I've worked in my life with people like Nelson Mandela and other people that all agree that we can't make laws or change our constitution based on the colour of our skin. Once we start doing that with the legal system, we open a whole lot of dangers up for us. For any reaction may have an adverse reaction. We may see our Indigenous brothers and sisters being victimised, and an overreaction from the Greek community or some other community that feels that they've been disadvantaged. Now, it's not unusual that any group of Australians would like to have control of the country, would like to have something because of their status or because of their birth. But we want to tell Aboriginal people that they've got just as much opportunity in this country. They should be respected and they should be encouraged to achieve for themselves and their families. For 200 years in this country, governments have set up committees to control the Indigenous population in one form or another. And here they are, we're going to do it again. Now, all Indigenous Australians have the right to vote. They have the right to petition their Member of Parliament and to participate in the community. Whether they do or they don't is a matter for them. But the situation, you don't want to have a voice, because then you give all the politicians that say, look, you're an Aboriginal. You go down and talk to your special committee. I haven't got to deal with your problem. Now, these are real problems for Australians, for white Australians, for black and for yellow Australians that are disadvantaged, that are poor, that may not have a good education. And we need to think that this problem goes right across the board. And there are some really serious problems we have to face. We have to judge the Aboriginal people, the Greek people, the German, all of us the same, because we're all in one country. We've all got to abide by our laws. Now, 250 years ago in England, they didn't like the prospect of invading Australia and snuffing out Aboriginal sovereignty. Well, that's what they did. That was an invasion. Sovereignty changed. It happened in Europe. For example, England used to own half of France, and England got booted out of France and became French. But sovereignty was ended then. There were a couple of guys in tights in the 1780s in England in the Foreign Office that said, oh, no, we'll have to have treaty annulus that Aboriginal people don't exist. They're not humans. There was no one there. It was an empty country, so we came in and found it. That was just bullshit. The reality is they came in, they invaded the country, they took it over, and they imposed a new system. International law recognises that as a valid, might not be a pleasant thing, but a valid situation of changing sovereignty. Once that sovereignty is changed, it's important that we have compassion for the people that live within that structure and give them every possible encouragement to be treated equal. And that's what we should have been doing for our Indigenous population, to respect them and to tell them that they can participate. And when you talk to a lot of Indigenous people today, I remember that a lot of Indigenous people, they don't realise that they can achieve things for themselves, that a lot of it comes from them too. And we've got to give them every encouragement to do that sort of thing. But we don't do that by saying because of the colour of your skin, you have special rights in law and special rights over other Australians. Because if we do that, we take from them, we put them in a different group of Australians. And for years and years, up to even the referendum in the 1960s, where we all fought for equality and justice and respect and mutual respect of individuals, we destroy that by saying you've got to be black, you've got to be an Aboriginal to have these rights, and other Australians can't have them. And what do? We build up resentment, we build up race division, and we destroy the unity that Senator Babbitt's worked so hard to achieve for our country.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, Mr. Palmer. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Australians. I mean, the only colour that we all are is green and gold. That's the colour that we are. And I think that the Prime Minister has been very divisive in his Voice campaign. You know, had he said, for example, should we recognise Aboriginal people in our Constitution? I think most people would probably agree with that. But what he instead has said, and don't let anyone out there gaslight you into thinking otherwise, is he said, based on your ethnicity, based on the color of your skin, you should have special privileges that other people do not have. What about a Greek voice, an Italian voice, a Mauritian voice, which is what I am, a New Zealander voice, a Canadian voice? What about all of those? And you know what? I think we all have a voice. We all have one already. And we have one every 3 years, and it's called an election, a national election. There's your voice. And, we all agree on this panel right here that we need to do more to help disadvantaged people of all persuasions, be they Aboriginal or another race or ethnicity. We should do more to help the disadvantaged. But what I always say is we help the disadvantaged by providing opportunity, by in communities where there's family violence, we take alcohol away, by providing education, and by teaching people how to help themselves. That's how we help people. We don't do it in a divisive way like the Prime Minister has done. And personally, I think that the Prime Minister's position now is untenable, and I think that he should do the right thing and step down. That's what I think he should do. Of course he won't.
Should.
He won't, but he should.
Yeah, but poor Elmo doesn't know what's happening one day to the next. He's just get around. They just. I was at a funeral today for one of my Indian friends who had passed away, and there's a big Sikh community there, and all of them voted no in the referendum, right? they said to us that they've learned through hard experience in the United Kingdom and elsewhere that, laws based on race end up in trouble. And it's all Australians, black and white, that are affected. And what comes with them is hatred, And we don't want hatred in this country. We want love and friendship, and we want to be able to be positive about all Australians, be they black, white, or whatever ethnic community they live in. We want to say, you can do it. We want to help you to do it. Don't give up. Don't come in and say, well, because I'm an Aboriginal person, it's okay for me to steal a car or to be incarcerated because you, other Australians, have forced me into this position. We don't want them to feel like that. We want to say, we want to say that you can participate in our society, and where there is racism, where there is things, we want all Australians to stick up with them, and together we can get through this and say that we are on a journey. We're on a journey to build this country as a united country that we find in 2023. We don't want to have our minds set back in 1788. There may have been many injustices done. There may have been many people killed and hurt. But the real hurt is if that mentality robs the people today of their future.
Said. Well said. Well said.
I don't want to rob Aboriginal people of the right to achieve in this country. I don't want to have them mired in the injustices of 300 years ago, which don't affect their lives. Because in the final analysis, nobody is going to look and support them but themselves and their own family. Even these Indigenous communities, what's a wonderful thing is half the Indigenous community think one thing, the other half think the other. Because that's normal. That's normal for our society. There's two points of view. There's not one point of view. Aboriginal people are not the same, for God's sake. White people are not the same. Mauritian people are not all the same. We've got to stand up. We've got a mind. We can think. We can have different points of view. That's we're human beings. These lefties want to say to us that Aboriginal people are just stamped out. They all think the same way. They're all disadvantaged, and we've got to help them. I don't think they're that hopeless. I've got some great Aboriginal friends that are intellectual, that are smart, and want to move this country forward. I've got a group of Aboriginal friends in Cosmo area, Kalgoorlie, where they all run their own businesses, and they won't allow their children to take any Aboriginal benefits, to do anything, because they want them to stand on their own 2 feet. And whatever problems they're going to have, they want them to be tough enough to face up with them. That's not saying you can't.
Let me expand on that. Let me expand on that. Yeah. Mr. Palmer, what you've said there is completely spot on, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think what things like The Voice have done is it's teaching a whole generation of children that they can't achieve, that they cannot be all that they can be because they are, systematically disadvantaged against. And I think we need to stop talking like this. And the Prime Minister has done absolutely no benefit at all to Aboriginal people. What we need to be saying to Aboriginal people is you're the same as everyone else. You have the same opportunity, which is the truth. You have the same opportunities as everyone else. And the only thing that you need to achieve is yourself. You need to work hard. You need to go to school. And everything that you want in life is yours if you chase it down. We can't be telling a whole generation of children.
Look at Ralph Babbitt. He's not Aboriginal, but he's got dark skin. He's got dark skin. When he joined the United Australia Party, we say, hey, Ralph, get a job on your face. You're in there, boy. You're okay. No,
exactly.
Because he was endorsed for the Senate in Victoria because he was the best person. He had the best. And look at his record in the Senate. All of Australia's in awe of him. Look at his advertisements he ran in South Australia and Tasmania, where he brought the no vote up from 52 to 65 single-handed. It wasn't Peter Dutton and the Liberals that did that. Look at that. This was all done by a semi-black fella, if you like.
Yes. I'm an immigrant.
One thing Ralph Babbitt doesn't need is an injection of confidence. Right? He doesn't need in Mauritius 200 years ago, your families were slaves or they imprisoned you or whatever. He doesn't care. He cares about
absolutely.
his future today.
I wanted to put a question to Mr. Palmer. Okay. So we've seen, obviously, over the next couple of days, weeks, months, everyone will be dissecting this. The pundits will be talking about this. And one of the questions I wanted to put to you, Mr. Palmer, was obviously there's been a lot of, you're a corporate leader. A lot of corporates have backed the yes side. and they've gone all in, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through their mission statements, whether it's through what they made their employees do and committing to, or, voting yes, whatever it is. Now, obviously, you're on the other side in the sense of you back the no side with the UAP, and also as an industry leader in this country. How do the corporates who so heavily went against, I guess, what the referendum results show today, how do they now, I guess, talk to the Australian people? Because they did go very hard on this.
Well, they don't care about the Australian people, the first thing. They care about making money. And they think the government's got more control of that. They want favours from the Albanese government, which will dilute the value of the Australian dollar because it won't be based on production. And most of these so-called corporate leaders are appointed by the government. If you look at Qantas, the Qantas board, for example, it's all covered by the Albanese government. And they're all appointed by the biggest shareholder. And what's happened to this country has been a decline in corporate Australia because the left and the woke position has got in and taken control of some of these positions. And so people are not so concerned about the country. Noel Pearson, I think he's got about $557 million of government grants in the last 14 years. And I know he's a consultant to a lot of corporations getting a lot of money. So it's in his vested interest to make sure that there's more and more government grants to Aboriginal organisations. But I'm concerned about the Aboriginal individual people, right? We've got enormous problems with poverty because we put these representative bodies between the people and the government, right? And many years ago, when I knew Joe Bjelke-Petersen pretty well, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, don't go near Joe, he's pretty bad." But what he said, look, what we need to do, we need to take the whole Aboriginal budget and we need to give it to the Aboriginal people.
Yeah.
In one foul thing. How much does the state spend on Aboriginal affairs a year? How much does the Commonwealth spend? Let's total it all up. Let's total out the number of Aboriginal people we've got in this country and let's give them the money directly, right? And let's us empower them and give them the control over their lives. At that time, it was something like about $80,000, which was a lot of money. And some of them could have pissed it against the wall. Some of them could have done well, but it would have been their decision, would have been their opportunity as individuals. But they think they've been deprived of that opportunity because of what happened 300 years ago. Let's give people that opportunity. I don't believe in giving money to groups, to white Australians, to Aboriginal people, to half Aboriginal people, because Aboriginal people are all different. All Australians are different too. I mean, we're all different, make up of different communities. A lot of us are immigrants, and of course, but whatever we are, we're human beings. And if there's a group of Australians that are suffering with poverty, if there's been some injustices done, let's pay for it. But let's give the money to the people and let them decide. There's a woman out in Alice Springs that was featured in the campaign looking after 4 little children on a slab of concrete that had no money. I didn't see the Land Council. I didn't see Noel Pearson rushing out to help her or give her any money to look after her children. It was a terrible situation.
It's all the middlemen. The middlemen take all the money and it doesn't reach the communities where it is actually needed.
It's funny, all these communists have learned capitalism and they put themselves, they want the money. That's what they're after. Our lads that we run in the campaign said, first the voice and then the invoice. We don't want the invoice. We want our money in Aboriginal affairs to go to Aboriginal people to improve their bottom life. Now, we've got to start doing that. And we've got some great Indigenous Australians that are very, very positive. Look at Jacinta Price. She didn't want this voice. She doesn't want sympathy. She wants the right to stand on her own 2 feet, to be recognised as a proud Australian.
She's done a great job.
What's wrong with that? I support her 100%. And I think, we need to really do everything we can to break down any racism. And there's black racism against whites in parts of this country, I've faced it. I had a bowl of salad jumped over my head when I was trying to negotiate a mining land rights deal. Before I could talk to anyone, I've had people throw pumpkins at me. I've had all that sort of stuff. Potato salad. We went up in the Pilbara with 4 miners to meet with a group. We had to pay $100,000 to their groups, so they'd put on a smorgasbord. When we got there, they picked up the smorgasbords and threw it at us.
So are you happy that that common sense has won out at this referendum?
Well, I'm invigorated. You know, I'm an old guy, really. I shouldn't be involved in politics and that. But I'm invigorated because the truth will set you free.
Yes.
And it does, you know, the last election, I don't want to go into politics, but we told everybody what was going to happen with interest rates. And they didn't believe us. You know, we told them what was going to happen with the economy and how we stopped it. And they didn't believe us because the media in this country has got an agenda. And you watch the ABC tonight, you don't see them putting me on the ABC, do you? You know, me on the ABC.
Oh, the ABC shocking.
You know, they don't put me on the ABC. They won't put me there. I'm the third wealthiest Australian, right? And our advertising campaigns Ralph's advertising campaign in Tasmania and South Australia moved the needle 10% over the polls in the last 2 weeks. But you know, they wouldn't put Ralph on, they wouldn't put me on, but they only put on people. It's a tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no good.
Well, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute national tragedy. Why didn't it win? Because it didn't win because it wanted to tie the colour of your skin to the judgment rather than the content of your character.
That's not right.
Yeah. This country, you know, on lines of race, and that's something that all Australians fought for in the Second World War to stop happening. There were many great Indigenous Australians that fought in the Australian Army, were well rewarded because they wanted to save freedom in this country, even though they didn't have citizenship. They wanted to protect those rights as against totalitarianism, what was happening in Europe. They recognised that, and they've got to be hailed as heroes of this nation.
That's
and
a
not
great
just
point.
for black people, but for all people.
All people. All people.
That they've got to be recognised.
Mr. Palmer, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's late, and I know you're a very busy man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. We'll have you on.
Australia. That's all I can say.
God bless Australia.
God bless every Australian, black, white, green, yellow, or whatever he is. God bless our country and God bless our people.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. And Mr. Palmer, you have to come on the opposition podcast with myself and Avi Yemeni and Senator Babette at some other point. Thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it.
God bless you. See you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Boys, do you know what's really telling? Every state has voted no, and every territory, with one exception,
Victoria?
the ACT. 63.8% of the ACT has voted yes.
The political class. I think Victoria looks like it's going to be a no.
Victoria's getting stronger no. It's 53.4%.
Gee, Mr. Palmer there was excited.
That was great.
I'm so glad.
That's great.
I'm so glad he came on. So
Uh,
glad. I think he was about to turn in for the night, and he said, "I'll come on for a few minutes." And he loves this kind of stuff. He loves getting stuck into
But what he said was
national
right. Like,
issues.
why isn't he on the ABC? Like, why haven't they? They don't want to get a myriad of different views on this issue. No, they are mourning. They are mourning this, and they're pretending like it's the end of the world when it's not. There is more hope that we in that 5 minutes. I didn't hear. I heard hope. That there is hope for people. You know what I mean with this thing.
Clive Palmer's a great patriot and a great person, and you know, obviously we are so lucky to have him as a chairman of the United Australia Party. The country is better off for having a guy like that around. Much better off. Patriot, loves his nation.
100%.
We need more like him.
I think it's 9:30 now. We went a bit over. We said it's going to finish at 9. I just want to probably wrap things up. Ralph, any last words, Senator Babette?
Look, last words. Thank you, Australia, for seeing through all the media garbage, all the media deception, all the gaslighting, all the lying from the Yes campaign, all the racism that they pushed onto us and are still pushing onto us now. They're calling us all racists. I mean, I'm obviously not a racist. I'm brown. Rukshan's not a racist. You know, he's brown. Michael's not a racist, you know, obviously
Token
not.
white guy.
Token white guy. You know, Avi was on before. You know, we had Joel Jamal on before. You know, a whole bunch of brown people and one token white guy saying to reject this garbage. You know, and we're not saying reject it because we don't care about Aboriginal people. Of course, we care about Aboriginal people, but you know, we don't want to divide our nation. And the other thing is we don't want another bureaucracy that we don't even know what it's going to look like. Absolutely no detail at all. I mean, it's not hard to have a guess at what it could have looked like. It would have been people like Noel Pearson, sitting on some board somewhere and dictating to the government what they could and they couldn't do. I mean, they played it off like it was an advisory body or something like this. But, people from the actual official Yes campaign came out numerous times and said it would be a brave government that rejected the advice that we gave to them. A brave government. So when I hear things like that, an unelected body, which we don't even know what it's going to look like, what powers it's going to have, when they can make decisions over my life and I have absolutely no say on what they do, then that just doesn't smell right to me. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Michael, any last words?
We haven't really spoken about Albo's speech much, mostly because I think he might have gone to ChatGPT and said, write me something like what Senator Babbitt just said. He actually didn't use any of the buzzwords. He didn't use misinformation or racism or hate. None of that stuff. He did actually say that he respected and accepted the decision, which is a positive step. I'm not sure that it will last very long, but it's nice to see something like that from Albanese, to give him some credit. Now he needs to obviously act and listen to the people and stop seeing colour, stop seeing gender, stop promoting division across our whole society.
Identity
Stop
politics.
indoctrinating children. Get back to the basics. We all want less government in our life. And one thing we certainly do not want is race-based division. That destroys nations, it destroys our culture, because we do have an Australian culture. Often we're referred to as a multicultural country, but no, we come from different nations, but we are one people, and we can stand firm because we all love this country. For its failings, it's still the best country in the world, and we all know that. We often criticise our country, but I think it's a great place to live, but it can be a lot better if we have a lot more Senator Babbitts in the Senate, a lot more people like him there. That will make a big difference. But like Ralph always says, the politicians don't actually have the power. The people do. So please be courageous. Please speak up whenever you have a chance and tell the truth. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I've got almost been surrounded by the UAP here.
It's because the UAP cares about the future of this nation. Vote one UAP.
Look, guys, thank you so much for joining in on this live stream. I think despite a few little small technical things, I think it went quite well. I hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. This is not the mainstream style of coverage. Obviously, it's a bit more open-ended, and we look at things and we discuss all sorts of different things. And I hope you've kind of enjoyed that format. I know across different platforms at the highest point of people viewing this, there was about 3,000 people tuned in and watching this and engaging with this, as far as I can tell, on the platforms where we can see viewers. So thank you so much. If you want, you can share this out. Obviously, you might just want to celebrate and the results done. You might not want to look into this anymore, because a lot of us have had a gutful of all this.
Oh, I'm so sick of it.
So sick of it, right? We've been talking about the voice this, the voice that. Albo's been going on about it. The celebrities. I mean, maybe are we going to listen to the John Farnham song again in the future? No, like all these people are done and dusted, right? I was just so over it. But unfortunately for me, I got to dissect it in the coming weeks as we look at this, and I'm sure for you as well, Senator Babbitt, in Parliament, you're going to be discussing this. But my final message is that it's a great result. Don't let people that are trying to convince you that this country is racist and so on convince you of this, because people have participated in democracy. All peoples, Indigenous peoples, this multicultural people in this country, Australians, anyone, whatever you want to term it as, we've all participated in this democratic process, and we've all resoundingly said no. And I think that's very important to respect that and not treat it as something, racism and all this nonsense, because it's not. Like Ralph has brought it up many times. Clive Palmer spoke about this. Just how amazing it is to have people from all walks of life in this country achieving so much. There is not, there is a very small amount of places around the world that are very similar to Australia where we can do this. And we are so lucky and blessed. And now we need to ensure that we've been able to take this disadvantage being enshrined into our constitution, that if there are issues in our community, and in this instance, we're talking about issues to do with Indigenous people, that they too rise to that same level and have those same aspirational goals and spirits that many people find in this country. because the reason that they're losing out on that has nothing to do with having a voice enshrined in the Constitution, nothing like this. It's to do with the fact that they have to believe the same way that many of us believe with the opportunities that we see in this country. And the politicians need to stop victimizing them and telling them that they can't do this and that they're victims. I think that will go a long, long way. That is what I truly believe. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. As for the show, as obviously Avi Yemeni, who joined in earlier from Israel, he's up there covering the conflict. So the opposition podcast is, I guess, paused at the moment. It's not clear whether we'll do shows in the coming weeks, depending on Avi's schedule. I might do a live here and there. Let me know what you think in the comments if you want to have a bit more live discussions in the future as well. If anything else, enjoy, celebrate this time if you're on the no side. If you're on the yes side, take a good hard look at the world around you and try to understand how this happened without being vindictive and nasty to the other side. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening and take care. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.